Needless Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs! Welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I am your host, Dave, and this is it, the final episode of 2021. It is New Year's Eve. This episode is up, and we assembled many of the Needless Things crew to talk about 2021. Basically anything that came up. There's no, top 10 here. There's no... none of that. It is a conversation just about stuff from 2021. We had a great time recording this. I think you're going to have a great time listening to it. But before we get to that, a couple things. One, please do check out the Needless Things YouTube channel that has been working overtime the last couple of weeks and will continue to do so at least a few weeks into the new year, I think. This week, I reviewed 4 different releases from the brand new Valaverse Action Force line. This is a line that's been a long time coming. 6-inch military action figures that works. And this was not the intention, but it does work as sort of a companion line to the G.I. Joe Classified series. And I gotta say, it pretty much met or exceeded all of my expectations. There's one major negative, but I think it's something that's very easily addressed. Overall, I'm very happy with what I got. So 4 days this week, there were reviews up on the Needless Things YouTube channel. 4 days the week before, and 4 days next week as... Okay, I believe next week is going to be the new Super 7 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates, unless I find something between now and then that I feel is more urgent, which is possible. So 1 week will be all 4 new Ultimates, and then I've got a bunch of reviews in the can right now. Oh, and before I forget, last night at midnight, I posted the final Needless unboxing of 2021, NECA's Goliath action figure from Gargoyles, which I really wanted to get in before the end of the year because all day today, or on January, we're not there yet, December 31st, I will be posting my top 10 figures / toys of 2021 on the Phantom Troublemaker and Needless Things Podcast Instagram accounts. So go follow those, and you can find out my top 10 of 2021. What else is going on here? Not a whole heck of a lot. We were supposed to go over to Second Chance Toys in, I guess it's in Canton, Georgia, way across town today, and there are thunderstorms all day long. It just looks like wet garbage outside, and I didn't feel like getting on the road and traveling an hour in that mess. Hopefully we can go tomorrow because I got a little bit of Christmas cash, and I would like to get some vintage toys. I'd like to add a few more pieces to the Joe collection sometime very soon. But that had to be put off because this weather... Let me just tell you, if you would like to live in a place where it rains far too much and the temperature year-round is anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees hotter than you'd like it to be, then move to Georgia. It's the place for you. All right. So moving on, 2021, I do have some input from the Needless Things Podcast Facebook group. I put up a question in there. Hey, what were some of you guys' favorite things from 2021? And we got some pretty good responses, so I'm going to run through them now. I was going to do it as part of the show, but then I realized the show was just too big. I'm going to mention here, I have a couple of responses from what are your top 10 action figures of 2021. Gary Mitchell has the 112 Collective Gotham by Gaslight Joker, G.I. Joe Classified Lady J, NECA Jason from Friday the 13th Part 7, Marvel Legends Baron Zemo, Marvel Legends Captain Carter in the stealth suit, NECA Ultimate McCready, the Outpost 31 version, G.I. Joe Classified Series, Commando Snake Eyes and Timber, NECA Puppet Master Blade, Masters of the Universe Revelations Evil Lyn, and Toonie Terror's Elvira. Brian King going from 10 to 1, Timber, Death Metal Wonder Woman, Lords of Power Merman, Movie Scarlet, McFarlane's Dr. Fate, Marvel Legends She-Hulk, Zartan, Goliath, Revelations Evil Lyn, and Major Blood. And then Robert McIntyre, also going from 10 to 1, Snyder Cut Flash, Snyder Cut Aquaman, Snyder Cut Superman, black costume, Bride of Frankenstein, which I am honestly not sure which one he's referencing. Perhaps the Jada Toys release, Snyder Cut Darkseid, Frankenstein's Monster Black and White, I'm going to guess that's the NECA one, 112 Collective Two-Face, Death Metal The Drowned, Death Metal Bat Cycle, and the Snyder Cut Steppenwolf. Big fan of McFarlane over here, and I don't blame him. And then I have got, if I scroll down just a little bit more, we've got some input from you guys about 2021. Actually, I think it's under announcements. Hang on. I scrolled down too far. I still don't understand how any social media works. Tell us your favorite things about 2021. What are you looking forward to in 2022, which we ended up not covering on the show because there was so much already. Gary Mitchell again. MCU on Disney Plus, No Way Home, the new Thrawn books, G.I. Joe Classified finally getting distribution right, Hades on Xbox, Midnight Mass on Netflix. James Palmer, favorite thing about 2021, it's almost over. Aw. What I'm looking forward to in 2022, Cobra Kai Season 3, Resident Alien Season 2, The Orville Season 3, Stranger Things 4, and The Book of Boba Fett, which technically started in 2021. Oh, and by the way, I guess I should mention, first episode, it was cool. Didn't blow me away, but it didn't need to. It's basically been established already, so it gave us a look at what we're going to be seeing. I enjoyed it. I liked the performances, but it wasn't a, oh my gosh, exploding head gif on Facebook reaction. It was just very enjoyable. Bobby Nash, award-winning Bobby Nash. 2021 was a productive year for me. It came at the cost of spending weekends with fellow geeky folks, though. That's sometimes you got to work through those conventions. It's what I did all year long. Steve Johnson, or as you may know him, Johnny Danger. Favorite, tough. Personally, this was the second worst year of my life. Well, that sucks. I can only assume that 2020 was the worst, because this had to be better. But I took your question as a challenge to find something positive. So, this was the year movies came back. Godzilla vs. Kong is a movie I've wanted since I first saw 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla on TBS in 1987 or so. No Way Home may be the best comic book movie ever. There were some fun video games, even if getting a PS5 or Xbox is needlessly impossible, thanks to scalpers and the merchants who are complacent selling to them. Switch had some fun games, too, for those stuck in that gen. Greg Plunkett. I can't go with any movies since I'm super far behind on watching those. For video games, definitely Metroid Dread. For tabletop gaming, I have to go with the relaunch of Hero Quest, which, if you don't know, was a big deal and was a Hasbro Pulse project. Robert McIntyre, favorite thing personally was having my heart procedure and being told all went well. And congratulations on your continued good health, Robert. That was huge. From a toy perspective, getting all these Snyder Cut Justice League figures, they look fantastic. Obviously, you were a big fan of those. What I'm looking forward to in 2022, going to conventions and meeting people again. Yes, you and me both, my friend. All right. There you go. That is the input from the Needless Things Podcast Facebook group, which you too can join and enjoy conversations like that. You guys, 2021, almost done. I know there's a lot of freaky, funky stuff still going on out there in the world, but hopefully we can fight our way through it, and 2022 can be even more back to normal than 2021 was. I'm looking forward to many conventions this year because my work schedule has made a little shift, and this time around I'm basically off all the weekends that I want to be off. Obviously, things can change. The job can rear its ugly head and decide to ruin my life once again. I say once again, it really hasn't ever stopped. But it does pay for all those neat vintage toys that I enjoy collecting. But overall, 2022 is looking pretty darn good. I'm excited. And as difficult as it is sometimes, I do think you're responsible for your own outlook. And look, I don't succeed at this, but if you can look ahead with positivity and enthusiasm and try and look for the best, then you're just going to feel better about things. Yes, that potentially can lead to disappointment, but I think if you have a healthier, more positive mental outlook, then in general, you're better off. And look, I don't have that all the time, but I sure do try, and I hope you guys, can find something to look forward to in 2022. I hope that 2021 was a better year than 2020, and again, I don't see how it couldn't have been. And I look forward to seeing some of you guys live and in person at things like Joe Fest, Toylanta, Dragon Con. I'm planning on being at all of those. Might even make it back to Heroes Con this year. Not positive about that one yet. We'll see. But here we go. It is time now to put a button on 2021.
I didn't consent to this.
That's what the goat said.
Yeah.
Facts.
It said, nah.
Well, but your wife did, so like a good cuck, just shh. Wow. Shots fired.
That was intense.
We're
right,
rowdy early.
I hope that everyone is prepared with your beverages. I have the last of the eggnog with some bourbon mixed in. I also have some bourbon, and of course, some water because hydration is key, as always. We have got a full house tonight, and that's what it's going to take to look back on 2021, the year as it was in the world.
The year we got to go back to the movies for a while.
That's true. We've still cautiously can maybe go see some things. Although I will say selfishly, I am going to miss being able to just watch stuff on HBO Max without having to go to a theater where people are talking and taking their shoes off and putting blankets over them and looking at their phones like it's their fucking living room.
I'm really missing being able to torrent stuff that's not a cam version of things.
That's true.
Get online.
I don't encourage piracy.
Wait. Well, no, of course. But imports are fine. Real quick, before we get too much further, I've got to introduce the crew. We have Christian, Oz, the Cadavers, Beth, Noel, and Arian. Welcome to 2021. A look back at slightly better things.
Yeah.
All right, please continue on with.
I'm just glad I didn't pay to see The Matrix.
Oh God, yeah.
Is it
horrible?
Okay,
it was all right.
No, it wasn't.
Well, okay, look.
I liked it.
That first part. Who saw The Matrix? Did everybody watch the new one?
I've not seen it yet.
Well, yeah, that's no surprise. It hasn't made it to VHS yet.
It's on HBO Max.
Is it coming up beta?
Yeah, well, as soon as it gets on Betamax, we'll dispatch a pigeon to your house with a copy. So the beginning is bad, really, really bad. I just feel like if they'd structured it a little bit differently, it would have been fine. But then at the end, it gets pretty awesome. and I like a lot of what they did. So it was worth watching, but not really worth paying for, I guess is where I'm at on it.
I
I
liked
thought it
it.
was all right. I don't know.
I thought it was infinitely better than 3. I absolutely hate Matrix 3. I'm sure
that's a low bar though.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but
That's like saying
I thought it was fun. You know,
that's like saying it's better than being punched in the dick. I'm not here to kink shame if you're into that, but it's a low bar to clear.
I think people are way too harsh
I'm
on
not
Revolutions.
a Matrix fan, especially not the sequels, so I can live without it.
I'm with
That's
Noel.
fair.
I thought it was
Well,
okay. I was
And,
worth a watch.
and in the end, that's kind of the story, because I mean, it's not like I'll ever go back and watch that again. It didn't do enough for me to be like, ooh, I want to watch this over and over again, like certain other movies that came out this year that we'll get to.
I watched it for free, and I'm glad I didn't pay for it. And I wouldn't have paid for it. It'd have just sat there until it came on FX in 3 years or something.
I would have paid to see it. I thought it was okay, but at the same time, like, I wish they had done some things differently. But
get your dig in. It was good. The message you sent me.
Oh, shit. I have to look it up to remember it. Hang on.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was either. That's how smart. That's how like Arian's mind is so complex. Even he can't keep track of everything.
I saw someone say something like Lana Wachowski had to sit through over a decade of men's rights activists claim the red pill was about realizing alimony was society's greatest evil, so she decided to abandon even the hint of subtlety forever.
And see, that's one of those things that I wasn't even aware of. So there are so many right-wing red flags that I'm not even aware of until a liberal points them out to me. So I'm glad for you keeping me on track.
You're not based in red pill, Dave.
No, I don't. I have no idea.
I'm here to translate.
Well, we are all here to translate the best and maybe a little bit of the worst of 2021 into a palatable, ear-directed format. One of the first things I want to talk about is, and we're kind of already doing it, is getting back to normal. Obviously, we still want to be careful and responsible, but the world opened back up for a good portion of 2021. We got to enjoy conventions again, shows again, going to the theater again. And, you know, overall, we got to have a whole lot more fun than we had last year. Do you guys remember the first thing you did back in public this year?
Go to see Black Widow in the theater.
So that was back in what, May or whatever?
Yeah, it was in like May-ish.
I am shocked that you were out earlier than I was.
Well, like, I mean, I was double vaxxed at that point, and like, if you'll remember, like, where we were in the course of the pandemic, like, numbers were way better back then than they are now.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I don't know. I figured it was worth it, and I still, knock on wood, haven't caught anything yet, so it's fine. I find that if I go to a showing at North DeKalb, like on a weeknight at like 8:30 or 9, like about a week after something's been out, it's not as crowded, and I feel better about going.
Yeah, but you're worried about catching other things other than COVID if you go to North DeKalb. Like, watch out for needles.
Like bullets.
I'm immune to all that shit. You suburbanites. Noel's actually like the least.
I think I'm the only one here that lives ITP. So
no, I live ITP too now. I'm not. In
you're back
anymore.
ITP.
Yeah.
we're this much OTP.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, you guys are basically as far OTP as I used to be. You're like just barely out of the perimeter.
If I'm trying to avoid crowds in the theater, I do the day show when we can.
Yeah.
That tends to be the best way to do it.
I have no problem with going to what we lovingly call the rape tunnel at North DeKalb. It's so cheap.
Yeah,
it is super cheap.
It's insanely cheap. Like, I don't know where their money comes from. Especially considering that you can bring drinks in there too.
Well, clearly they're laundering money.
Yeah.
It's just a front.
It's like how does Mattress Firm stay in business? I think we all know the answer to that question. It's a racket for something.
It's because mattresses are cheaper than safes.
They hold a lot of product.
Yes.
If you know what I'm talking about.
So
this much.
Who else got back out earlier?
Ours was Suicide Squad.
At least as far as theaters,
Yeah.
that was the first movie we saw in theater.
Okay.
Suicide Squad. Even though it was out on HBO Max, so I saw it in the theater. We came home and I watched it again on HBO.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that in the theater, but I just wasn't. I'm trying to think of the order in which things came out because I know was Shang-Chi the first one that you like had to go to the theater to watch?
Yeah, like that was not available on Disney Plus.
I think that was our first time. Was that before or after Dragon Con?
Snake Eyes would have been our first.
Oh, you're right. Snake Eyes was the first. You're right.
Yeah.
Which everybody can hear our review of Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins on Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. So yeah, that was my family's first time out. And it wasn't so bad. Not there weren't many people in the theater. That's all I'll say.
No, there sure weren't.
So apparently, Suicide Squad was August, and Shang-Chi was September. So.
Okay, yeah, I know we saw Shang-Chi in the theater as well, and that was worth going, even though the theater was kind of packed and people wouldn't shut the fuck up. The movie was so freaking good.
It was amazing.
Shang-Chi. How would you rank the Marvel movies that came out this year?
I didn't see the Eternals.
The Eternals is the bottom of like every movie I saw this year.
I think like I disliked Matrix more than I disliked Eternals, but I have a soft spot for like cosmic era Jack Kirby nonsense.
This didn't feel like that to me though. It felt like let's stand around and talk a lot, and every once in a while I'll shoot some fucking bolts out of my fingers. It didn't feel like Jack Kirby to me. I understand that's where the inspiration came from, but they did not capture. Look at Thor Ragnarok and look at the Eternals and tell me where Jack Kirby's influence was felt.
I mean, that's the wacky Jack Kirby, though.
Well,
I think all you have to do is look at Justice League, and you can totally understand it is impossible for Hollywood to do Jack Kirby.
Yes,
his ideas are just too big and too amazing for mere mortals to translate.
I think if you get Taika Waititi, I have trouble with his name and his directorial style from time to time. I think if you get him with a really strong editor, you could have a successful like New Gods movie. I really do. But it would take a company much bolder than Warner Brothers to put it out. Well, Oz, we know you were out at Dragon Con. Did you get out and about before that?
You know what? As far as the theater goes, man, the first one I saw in the theater this year was the new Ghostbusters. Like at Thanksgiving. I didn't, and it was. I mean, there wasn't like a conscious decision. Like I'm not going to the theater because of COVID. I just, I work and everything else, and then I mean, there was a couple of things that I kind of wish I would have seen. And but yeah, that the new Ghostbusters was the first I saw in the theater. And then I don't really go out and do anything much anyway. I mean,
fist bump.
There's a brew pub that we go to that we hang out. They have an outdoor patio, and so we go and hang out there and whatever. But I mean, Ghostbusters was the first one I saw in the theater, and it was kind of weird because it had been literally over a year since I'd been in the theater.
What I don't miss is like going to the movie tavern and taking my wife and my mother-in-law and dropping $36 on 3 tickets and then $75 on food and beverages.
for some cheap mozzarella
and that's
sticks.
if you don't get alcohol.
Yeah, right, that's at a matinee where we're just drinking Diet Coke, or Diet Pepsi because the movie tavern does not have Coke products. It's a black mark on it. You can do Diet Dr. Pepper, so it's okay.
I could survive on that.
Yeah,
Who else? We got Beth. Where was your first venture out?
Also a movie theater. I went and saw A Quiet Place 2 at the end of May. And after that, even though it was okay, but after that, I was like, watching movies at home again. And I didn't go to the theater again until Dune came out. I've seen exactly 2 movies in the theater this year. And Dune, I'm glad I saw in the theater. But everything else, I just want to be at home. Just leave me alone so I can go pee whenever I want, drink my drinks for free, eat my food for free.
Yeah. Wear my comfy pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't make me put on a bra to go out. Ew.
I don't mind the theatrical experience, but like I said, it's just the other people in there that are so disrespectful.
Yeah, when I saw Spider-Man,
or the problem.
The dudes sitting close to me were like fucking around on their phone, like listening or watching something with fucking volume on. I'm just like, dude,
it's insanity. And I'm not talking about people who like when Andrew Garfield showed up, people who are like, yes, whoa. I'm not talking about those people. Those people are fucking great. They're enhancing the experience. I'm talking about people who are treating it, like I said, like their living room, kicking back with blankets on, their shoes off, looking at their phones, talking at like normal speaking volume to each other.
That shit's fucking trifling.
We got lucky because Spider-Man, everyone was like very fucking respectful of how goddamn good that movie was.
Yeah,
like,
same here. The theater we were in, theater was packed.
Yeah.
And there were people standing in the back, which I don't quite know how that works, but it was a fact. But everybody was like going nuts in all the right spots, very into it, very enthusiastic. And then during the talky, dramatic portions, everybody would like hush up and listen and feel their feelings. Like it was great. It was a great experience.
Has everybody seen Spider-Man?
Nope.
Oh, what? All right.
I hear it's amazing, but here's the thing. I made a deal with Marvel at the end of the Thanos saga that
you wouldn't watch anything else until they gave Hawkeye a show.
The opposite of what I promised.
You're in luck.
But I made a deal, and the deal is that I don't have to be emotionally invested in this shit anymore, and I'll watch it if I want to, but I'm done being emotionally invested in Marvel.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not as emotionally invested as I was prior to the end of the Thanos saga, but there's and I think the movies are a lot more hit and miss now than they used to be.
I'm a bigger Spider-Man fan than I am like a Marvel fan. I know, I don't know if that makes sense, but like just
it does.
No, that makes sense because I'm a bigger Batman fan than I am a DC fan.
Well, I think Ryan, you and I are pretty much on the same page because I think we've talked about this. X-Men and Spider-Man, I was like way into. Yes. I didn't give a fuck about any of the rest of Marvel.
Same.
When I was a kid.
Those were my jams.
Yeah.
So like Spider-Man, I was like, we have to drop everything and fucking see this. Even more than if they released a new Avengers movie this year. This was like serious shit to me.
I'm going to preface this with the Spider-Man movies are better than the Transformer movies.
Yeah.
Because the Spider-Man movies have been my emotional picking them apart has been like how when the first Transformers movie came out and I was like, oh my God, Transformers. And I saw it, the live action one. And then once I sobered up, I was like, oh God, there's so much in that movie I hate.
Yeah.
And And that has happened with every single one of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. There are parts of it that's really great, but the stuff I hate about them, I think is just too big to look over. So I honestly wasn't jammed for this one. And now everybody's telling me how good it is. So I'm like, I will get around to seeing it.
It fixes my biggest complaint.
I don't feel like that Tony Stark was a poor substitute for Uncle Ben.
Well, that's fixed. The fact that these haven't really, because this was my issue as well. Well, I don't know if it was your issue or not. My issue was the Tom Holland movies weren't really Spider-Man movies. They were Peter Parker Jr. Avenger movies.
Yeah,
which is a very different thing. But this movie fixes that.
Yeah, because you get to hear the words said.
It's I don't want to get too far into it because Beth hasn't seen it yet, and there's some stuff in there that's really worth
I haven't
hanging back and enjoying. And Oz hasn't seen it yet, so we'll move on and just say that No Way Home is fantastic and worth your time.
It's fantastic. I almost enjoyed it as much as Into the Spider-Verse, which I think is still
that's still the best.
That's the gold standard right there.
I mean, that's the best.
I watched that last night, and I was like, okay, this is my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yes,
but that's my second. No, yeah.
Well, I feel like Spider-Verse is better because, we're all familiar with and invested in Tobey Maguire and Andrew to a lesser extent, at least for me, Andrew Garfield is Spider-Man and the villains from those movies too. And unless you're a huge Spider-Man nerd who's read all the comics, you're just not familiar with the whole cast of characters in Into the Spider-Verse. And the fact that they win you over with that rogues gallery of lunatics means more to me than it's a bigger accomplishment.
The new movie made me cry more. I'll say that.
Yeah. I wished I had a hoodie on so I could subtly stop the tears away quite a few times.
I still think
it was rough.
Spider-Man 2 is a better movie. The second Raimi movie.
Spider-Man 2 is one of my top 5 comic book movies, period.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's a near perfect comic book movie. Yeah. This one has a lot more. And of course, it's also movies being made in the early 2000s versus movies being made in 2021.
And that's really all the Raimi ones have going against them is the style of the era.
Well, except for three has a lot.
Well, I don't count 3 as a Raimi. I don't count 3 as a Raimi movie.
Didn't happen.
We won't.
3 is a Sony movie.
It's ruined because
it was created
as a cesspool of garbage. It was
created by a group of morons. Sam Raimi was just there because, okay, I guess I'll let you pay me a shit ton of money for another one because he didn't want to do anything involved with it.
No.
And real quickly, I just want to throw back to my spirit animal, Beth. I am right there with you because where I am at with Marvel, I do not want to feel like I have to see a movie to understand what is going on in a movie of a totally different character for a movie that hasn't been made yet. Once we got done with Thanos, I was like, the movies I have enjoyed the most were when they were on their own and not connected to everything else. Once all of a sudden if you don't stay through the credits, not I enjoy staying through the credits to see these scenes, it's you have to, or we're not really going to explain it in the next movie because we're just assuming you're going to watch that. It really started to suck the fun out for me.
I completely understand that sentiment. I don't share it at all, but I totally get where you're coming from.
That is the reason why I stopped reading comic books, honestly.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, the crossovers were such a pain in the ass.
That's same here, but this is way easier and honestly fucking cheaper to manage.
Yes.
Than comics.
Yes, absolutely.
It's even this year when it was Marvel overload with 4 movies and 4 or 5
TV shows.
Well, and
5
you've got
What If.
You've got general, you've got a better guarantee of quality as well because with those crossovers, they would often loop in a title that was lagging in sales due to bad creative and shit. Think about the times you read an X-Men crossover and you'd be like, Uncanny X-Men. All right, that part of it was great. Regular X-Men, this was super. And then you get to X Factor that has some shitty scab artist on it. And everybody, all the character models look like fucking ass. And you're just like, why am I reading this? But I have to because I got to get back to the next part that's in Spider-Man. I hate
it. Not only do you have to read it, you have to read
I love Strong Guy. You watch your mouth.
4 or 6 years.
Whatever that was.
I'm right there with you because you said X Factor, and I was like, oh.
Well, I was talking. I'm actually thinking of a very specific. I think it was Inferno. And I might be wrong, but I believe it was Inferno where X Factor had just a terrible series of fill-in artists during that crossover. So you'd read Uncanny with Will Spertasio or whoever it was, Mark Silvestri, whoever it was at the time. And then you get to fucking block figures almost. Like, is that blue thing supposed to be Cyclops?
That's Simonson was going through like his experimental phase there. I mean, he's Walt Simonson
was Walt Simon. Then that's not the crossover I'm thinking of. Then
he was the artist, but when you look at his issues, like Rogue's hair, he would draw as like this ginormous triangle thing, and you're like,
yeah, if it was Walt Simonson, that's not what I'm thinking of. It might have been like Extinction Agenda. It was one of the ones in that era though, where you get the X Factor and you're like, what the fuck? Well, and Christian, what was your first experience back out?
Well, I live in Florida, so
so you never stopped.
The pandemic.
Seriously, I was sitting there thinking, like, God. This has been my problem when trying to think of 2021 is there was so much when I was going back and double checking and I was like, oh wait, that was 2020. Crap. Because we didn't really, I mean, theaters, yes, did shut down, but I've been back in the theme parks since June of last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've just So
I went to Joe Fest before the movie theaters. So I got out for a convention before I even went out to a movie theater this year.
Well, and I would have been out for that if I'd been off, but unfortunately I had to work. But this year, we'll be back at Joe Fest. Hopefully doing an Audible interlude panel. We'll see. So we've all gotten to get out. We've all gotten to do things. Many of us went to Dragon Con and had an absolutely incredible time there. That was, for me, that was one of the high points of the year for sure. What is there anything new that's sort of come into your life this year, whether it's something older that you kind of discovered or something that came out this year? And what brought this up for me is because we're still spending more time at home than we used to. I've been having to sort of dig into different catalogs of streaming stuff because I love the standards, 30 Rock, Parks and Recreation, The Office. Like I've been through all of those since they've been on streaming a couple of times each. And I needed something different. And I found Modern Family. I'd never watched it before, never even seen a single episode. The most I had seen was like the last 20-second sting of the episode that starts before Raw. Like you go to watch Raw and there's like the last 20 seconds of the show. And I absolutely love it. I'm into the 8th season now, and I'm kind of sad because I think there's only one more season after this. But there's so much stuff out there that has existed for a decade or more. We just don't have time for everything. And that was kind of my thing this year that I found. And I was like, this is great. I've never seen it before. It's like a fresh new thing to me, even though it's 10 years old. Did you guys sort of find anything like that?
She had never seen The Office, so we watched that twice all the way through.
Oh, nice.
So I'm new to The Office fandom, but yeah.
So you recognize that Dwight is the babyface and Jim is the heel, right?
If you look behind me,
because Jim's a piece of shit.
It's true, but I bought action figures. I did that.
Yes. Yeah. That started in 2020, but it's definitely escalated over the past year.
Yeah. You can't see the top shelf. There's 4 shelves.
That's beautiful.
Of Black Series figures.
I love to see it. So, and we'll have more on that in a minute because that's another one of my bullet points that I know a couple of you here are going to have some thoughts about. What else new in your lives? Oz?
You know what? One of the things you're talking about, like going back and looking at stuff that just didn't come out in 2021, but I had always heard that Winona Judd was pretty good, and so I don't think I've ever been more surprised. Here's the thing about it. I don't.
But wait, he's not saying her music. He's saying her.
Not Judd.
Oh,
Winona Earp. Oh.
It's like we were like
this took a very unexpected turn.
I don't know how many times I've fucking done that.
I was like, we're going to talk about Winona Judd now. This is happening. which will lead us to Ashley Judd and the lifelong crush I've had on her. But
I've always heard that Patsy Cline was pretty good. I spent a lot of time with her this year.
All right, fuck all you guys.
So Winona Earp.
Yeah. And it you know what? It's fun. It's not fantastic. It's kind of a monster of the week.
But we don't need fantastic. We just need I can put this on while I do things.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. It's a fun show. There's a lesbian relationship, which you can't go wrong with. There's a really cool gun. It's a fun show.
We're checking off Oz's boxes as we go here.
Lesbians and guns. And country music, apparently.
Country music.
Right?
Go away, Betzel test. It's now the Oz test.
Oh, God.
Is this scissoring important to the plot?
I mean,
doesn't matter. No.
How is it not?
Yeah,
right?
Scissoring is important.
So,
period.
Winona Earp.
Period.
Good fun.
I discovered Battlestar Galactica from her.
Oh, the new one?
The new or the original?
Oh, man. I loved it.
The newer one, yeah.
So did you get
all the way through it?
We're in
over halfway through it.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't talk about it anymore then.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you when you finish it up.
Ryan, are you still watching Buffy?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. We will at least once or twice a week we'll watch a couple episodes.
Good
nice.
Deal.
Yeah. Well, because 2021 continued the path of successfully turning me into an even older man than I am, I discovered that on YouTube, whoever oversees the estate, Bert Tillstrom, has put up in chronological order the Kukla, Fran, and Ollie show starting from 1949. So I get my ribbon candy and my sarsaparilla, and I have been chronologically watching Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, which is amazing. To me, it's a masterclass in improv after finding out that they worked off no script. Everything was completely off the cuff. So it's 1950s, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia without them being jerks.
Oh, well, that's the selling part of Always Sunny, though.
Very true. But just watching the interactions, it's amazing.
I would appreciate a little elaboration on what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know either. I've never heard of that.
What?
I mean, it's no surprise that Oz is familiar with this show from the 40s.
Well, Oz grew up with the train coming out the camera in the theater, and everyone was scared.
I played with a hoop and a stick.
Listen to the Little Orphan Annie radio show.
Did you see the rocket ship went right in the moon's eye?
Kukla, Fran, and Ollie was a puppet show that started in Chicago, and it was the first nationally syndicated TV show when NBC picked it up to broadcast it. It was I've learned it was so massive at the time, huge celebrities were fans of this show. And Kukla was this little clown-looking puppet, and Ollie was a dragon, and then they had the human Fran. But I mean, and they're old school puppets, not like Muppets, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now.
Now, is this title what inspired the title Syphil and Ollie? Maybe
I've been wondering the same thing.
Yeah,
but there is an episode where the Kukla puppet and the stagehand puppet are making lemonade, and so using these finger puppets, I don't know, it's the most, you just become hypnotized by it because he was so talented. He actually has the knife and is cutting a lemon and juicing a lemon and measuring sugar, and you're like, how is all this happening when he's just using his pinky and his thumb? It's amazing.
No script, entirely ad-libbed.
Yes. The only thing that would be planned is if they sang a song, the song would obviously be rehearsed. And then the other part that I think is a masterclass in advertising is they would have these sponsors, which was like RCA Victor, they had Seal Test Ice Cream and Ford. And the way that they could go into these product placement speeches, but yet just make it as part of the show is stuff I think YouTubers should learn.
Right.
So kukla is the Greek word for doll. That's where that name comes from.
Ah.
This is wild. I'm going to have to check this out. I'm going to have to ask Bo Brown about his knowledge of this. I'm sure he's aware.
If
I would imagine.
He's got to be.
And it continued on, like it ended, I think, in like the 60s. And then they came back in the 70s on PBS. And one of the last things they did was a television special called 'Tis the Season to Be Ollie. And the 70s glam rock version of Jingle Bells that they do with the puppets dressed up like, I mean, they're using like pure Xanadu Kiss video camera angles and fog and synthesizers. And you're just like, this is art that should not be forgotten.
Yeah, I mean, this looks incredible. I'm excited about it. And it's worth noting that it originated in Chicago, which is the home of many, many weird things like the Beanie Baby obsession, which I learned last night, and CM Punk.
Well, and Waylon Flowers got his start, apparently, working with them as well.
Okay.
So there's your little Atlanta connection.
Okay.
Interesting.
Wow, that's wild. So yeah, that is Kukla, Fran, and Ollie for the listeners who should absolutely go check that out. That's wild.
Wow. Weird, wild stuff.
Yeah, indeed. I don't even know what we were talking about before. New things in our lives.
One thing that we really got into this year, because we try to kind of like not just sit around and watch TV. So
we fail at that because that's what we do.
We did a lot.
That's okay.
We started playing some games. We found some board games that we really liked. And we found the Unstable Unicorns game, which actually came out in like 2020-ish.
That is a fun one.
We discovered it this year. Absolutely awesome card game that you can play. Most games are not that fun with two people.
Yeah.
Trying to find a board game that you don't need to like go to a party to play, it was a big deal. So we found Unstable Unicorns and had like hours of fun with that. Because it's one of those games that the whole point is to fuck over your opponent to keep them from winning. Like the way you win is by keeping your opponent from winning.
Right.
And we are usually yelling at each other by the end of it. It's hilarious.
But like in a fun way.
Makes for a healthy marriage.
Yeah. Right.
And it's really fun. Like if you do have a group of people, it's really fun, but it's also really fun with two people. So that was one thing that we spent, and we went and bought like all the and there's a ton. We have like a huge master deck of these cards now that we've kind of like pulled out the ones we don't like and, designed it. And we have a blast with it. So if you want to play a card game that is actually fun with two people, Unstable Unicorns is amazing. And the Horrified board game, really fun too. And you can also
I bought that this year. I love that game.
Yeah, I got to play that earlier this year, and it was awesome. We went out and bought one for ourselves after Mr. Bo Brown brought it over, and have not gotten back to it. I'll just say, because it's a little intimidating.
It's actually not that hard.
It's not.
No, it's not.
But like thinking back to how involved it was to get started, every time we've been like, hey, we'd like to play that, I think about like all of the explanation that was done, and I'm like,
well, come on,
I don't have time to that. And see, having more people makes it easier.
One. Actually, they released a new one, and it's
got Mothman and Bigfoot.
It's all about cryptids.
Oh wow!
I want my Universal monsters.
Yeah. Well, you got to mix it up.
Yeah. But yeah, those are really fun.
Ryan's here for Mothman.
Definitely recommend unicorns.
Ryan's here for Bigfoot, which is, by the way, real.
Yes, for sure.
100%. Absolutely.
I approve.
All right. So I want to go back real quick to Arian. You mentioned your descent into action figure madness. And I know there are a number of us here who can speak on this. I am sick to fucking death of pre-orders. I'm over it. I'm over.
Yeah, my Costco
available now. And then you look and it's like September to November of 2022. And I'm like, that doesn't available now.
Yeah.
I'm over it. And I got so excited.
And you forget what you've already bought.
Yeah.
What was that, Noel?
So you forget what you've already bought.
I keep a list. I'm not even kidding. I have in my phone, I've got a Google Note of everything that I've got on pre-order.
Fortunately, Big Bad Toy Store keeps track of it.
Yeah, it's very easy to go check out what you've got.
But like my fucking Coscaries figure has been like, I pre-ordered it like whenever like it first went up. It was supposed to ship in October. Here we are 4 days until 2022. And still no fucking.
Well, Amazon's had it in stock several times, and actually, I got it for $19.99 the other day.
Good grief!
That's kind of what I was gonna say. Is I've had a couple things that I have like pre-ordered because it said ships. You know, like there was something for Ryan's birthday that I pre-ordered because it's like I pre-ordered it because it said it like shipped in March. Right. So I
right.
Like early March, Ryan's birthday being in April. And so I'm like, oh, well, it should ship soon. Right. That motherfucker never came. I don't think it's come yet.
Well, and that's a problem with distribution, with shipping, with the cargo containers that are lined up in the ports waiting to be unloaded because not enough people want jobs unloading fucking toys from cargo ships or whatever.
Well,
and that's part of the problem as well.
Strangely, that situation improved once the big government. It's not better. It's not fully 100%.
Yeah, it hasn't improved yet. I don't know what you're talking about.
It is improved in that the pace of it picked up once the government started fining them like $100 per day after a certain amount of time. There might have been some create some artificial scarcity situations going on.
Well, when we talked about it back in July, I think it was on Audible Interlude, there were 27 ships in the Pacific Ocean waiting, and the other day when I checked back in, there were 32.
Yeah, but
so your definition of improvement may be different from mine.
It's not the same 27.
There's more, so it's better.
We'll just leave it at
job. There was a brief period where the number got down into the teens.
Yes,
but it seems like that lasted about a month, and then we need to charge $5 for a can of corn again.
Yeah, that sucks too. But we are getting stuff is making it through, but the whole pre-order situation, that's part of the issue. And there were a number of things that I had ordered for Christmas that did not make it here by Christmas Eve. And I went in and cancel. Fuck you. Don't care. I mean, I'm over it. And that's today. Mezco. Well, okay. So last week, Super 7 put up a pre-order for that G.I. Joe sled with the dogs. Awesome. Oh, yeah. In stock.
Surprise, not a pre-order.
Out of nowhere. And it came in like 2 days. I got the review up on the Needless Things YouTube channel. And it was great. And then today, Mezco put up an order for a 112 collective. Did you see this, Ryan? The Silent Hill pyramid thing?
No.
They're doing a 112 figure of that.
Oh my God.
That comes out is estimated to release September to November of 2022.
They need to do a figure.
You know what? Yeah. Fuck it. I don't even care. Yeah. I don't want it. If they had put that up and it was available, I would have bought it today.
100%. Yeah.
But now I just don't give a shit.
So with me,
I actually got a nice surprise. I ordered my Dave Filoni figure, and that wasn't because I won't give Hasbro extra money. That wasn't going to arrive till March, but then 3 weeks ago,
hey, look at that! Whoa,
Trapper Wolf in the house.
Trapper Wolf is here watching.
Beth with an action figure. What a slippery slope! Because there's
I got started with one Ahsoka Tano figure.
I might have already bought an Ahsoka Tano to go with.
That's what happens.
That was me and the classified figures was one or two. But I have it's not a pre-order problem. It's I will have had one or two beverages at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm browsing eBay. And 3 to 4 months later, something that I completely forgot that I bought shows up, like this Masterpiece Ironhide.
That looks great, though.
Which is amazing, and I'm so glad that I had that extra glass of like gin and ginger that one night, because like this arrived and I was like, "What?" I didn't order. Oh God, this was like May. I ordered this, and it showed up in November.
See, that's why I only allow myself to use the Wish app when I'm drinking, because if I order something, it's only $1.
That's got so many tiny shirts.
When I'm drinking, there's no allowing myself to drink it. There's no rules.
Yeah.
Like when I'm drinking, I do what I fucking want. Ryan is gone.
We need to all pitch in and get Ryan a shirt that says, "When I'm drinking, I do what I fucking want."
Well, like, yeah. When I was in my 20s,
Ryan takes over, and we're all screwed.
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s, I didn't have a problem with waking up and like regretting some, like, waking up in the bed with an ugly girl or something. I woke up with a pile of toys that I'd gotten at Walmart at 2 or 3 in the morning, and trying to figure out, okay, which one of these did I not open in a drunken stupor last night? Which can I get back to the store? I don't need this Marvel lizard figure.
And how great was that though? When I fucking hate Walmart, but I used to love that like 1 or 2 a.m. Walmart toy run.
Oh yeah,
you just go in, you see, because typically that's when they're putting stock out.
Shutting down the O'Charlie's on Pleasant Hill and then wandering to the Walmart behind it.
Yes. Oh, man. Those good times.
Yeah.
Walmart's just not as magical during the day.
Oh, God, no.
I don't even think any of them are open 24 hours now.
No, not right now. That ended with the pandemic. They all close like 10 or 11 now.
I feel like
which has really hamstrung me. Because I used to stop at Walmart on the way into work in the morning. So I would be in there at like 4:30, like I said, when they've just put out stock. And I was able to get so much of what I wanted then. And now I can't do that anymore. And that's been a big issue for me. Much, much bigger issue than all of the people that have fucking died from the COVID.
Well, as long as you have your priorities straight.
Right. What were you saying, Ryan?
Oh, I'm just saying. COVID be damned. I don't think Walmart's going to open back up, and I'm pretty pissed about it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like grocery stores too. Like, because I would go.
I used to
Kroger. What are you buying food at 2 a.m.?
Yeah, no, I go to fucking Kroger to grocery shop when there's no other fucking human beings there.
Yeah,
that's what I used to do too.
Because I hate people that much. You don't understand.
I'm right there with you.
Like,
no, that's true.
Wait. Let me. I'm pretty sure you just outed yourself as not being the person who grocery shops for your household. It's Mrs. Troublemaker, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you don't understand the pain.
I mean, I have grocery shopped in my life, Mr. Gulick.
I'm just saying.
I have not been married since I was a baby.
It's fucking awful.
The way the rest of us get food is that we have to go to a store and we have to collect it all and purchase it.
No, that's fucking stupid. Food magically appears in the cupboard. What are you talking about?
Put it in a cart.
I go to the cupboard and the Vienna sausages are there. What do you? That doesn't happen in your house?
No,
it does. for me.
Tragic. First of all, nobody says cupboard in my house.
You don't have a cupboard? Where do you keep food?
He has a pantry. He's
the indigenous peoples. Thank you very much.
Cabinets.
Indigenous peoples in the cupboard. All right, we should probably move on at this point.
Yeah.
The next note I have, and I can't remember who vomited this into our insane chat. Big boobied vampire mommies in the video games they started.
Yes. Goddamn game of the year.
But you know who didn't vomit it into the chat? Me.
It's true. Because Nicole was only added to the chat today. Because
Nicole was added to the chat 2 hours
Look,
ago.
we're not here to rehash old business, even though that's completely what this whole episode is about.
Moving on.
I publicly, in front of all the listeners and everyone, I offer my sincerest apologies. I don't know how that slipped by me. That was, and for the listeners, here's what happened: is like a month ago or whatever it was, I went to the various Needless Things chats because we mostly communicate via Facebook Messenger. Which I just realized is why our head of research, Ryan Schweck, isn't here tonight because he doesn't use Facebook Messenger. And I just realized I left him out of this.
Wait,
so I apologize. Huh?
Yeah, he does.
Well, not with me, he doesn't.
I have 2 Facebook chats going with him.
Oh, my gosh. Well, now I don't feel bad. So I've sent messages to the various groups. I was like, hey, who wants in on the year-end episode? And as I got replies, I added everyone to another chat just for this, because this may shock some people. Sometimes it's a little hard for us to stay on topic.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
So, especially with Oz. So we had a completely separate 2021 wrap up.
Remarkably well behaved tonight.
He has. I'm almost disappointed, but we've gotten enough
Oz,
giggles
drink more
for it to be worthwhile. And somehow, when at whatever point Nicole said, I'm in, I didn't add her to the new chat. So earlier today, Ryan was like, hey, dude, are you like mad at Nicole or something? I was like, no, why? And he's like, because you didn't invite her to the year-end thing. And she's like super sad. She's crying outside in the woodshed. And I was like, what? I was like, dude, go out to the woodshed and tell her I am so sorry that it's my fault. And you were like, I don't know. She's super upset, man. And I was like, all right, fine. I'll come over there. So I got in my car. I drove over to the cadavers and I went out to their woodshed and I was like, Nicole, I'm sorry. Look, I've brought you some brandy and an apple turnover cheesecake. And I want you on the episode tonight. Please don't be mad. This is my fault.
I was sobbing. I made him beg me to come on.
And I did. I got down on my hands and my knees and I said, please, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to disrespect you. This is my fault. I'm an idiot. I'm a bad person. Please come on the episode. And Ryan was like, all right, dude, that's a little much. Let's tone it down. Yeah.
Dial it back a little, dude. Come on.
And then she came out of their shed and had carved, by the way, done some scrimshaw while she was in there. A beautiful beluga whale.
She was actually writing Oz a letter.
I was whittling wood.
She scrimshawed Oz a letter. It should be arriving any minute now via Oz's carrier pigeon fleet. Anyway, so we're all here now. So I know you. I have not played the game yet. I haven't really felt like playing video games for a few months. I don't know why. Really? I don't. Nothing has grabbed me. I'll hang out with Phantom Jr. and like watch him play stuff.
I bought a lot of video games this year, and I've mostly just continued to play Diablo.
Well, you know what I think killed me is Red Dead was so fucking good.
It was.
Everything I've tried to play since then, I just can't get into it.
Not even Red Dead 2?
Well, no, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Red Dead Redemption 2.
You know what's wild is you're like the third person I've talked to this year that has said the same thing to me. Like my buddy Jamie from Dynamite 5.
Yeah.
He said the exact same thing to me the other night. He was like, after Red Dead Redemption 2, all games suck.
And I'm not normally that guy. Usually I can find like an end to get into something. But man, I don't want to play anything else, and then I don't want to go back and play that because, spoiler alert, once Arthur dies, fuck that game.
That's basically the end.
So, like, I just haven't. Nothing has grabbed me enough to really want to play it.
Did you play Miles Morales?
No, and I watched Phantom Jr. play it a bunch, and I do want to play it. But it's just getting up the motivation to sit down and start a new thing. There's always something else. And I'm like, well, I'll do this. I don't want to sit down here for 2 hours and play a game or whatever. But you guys have got
8 is worth your attention.
I believe you. Tell me about the big boobied vampire mommy.
To keep finding reasons to not leave the house, I've actually played more video games. And I wasn't going to play this game because 7 was very scary, but 8 got me. And Arian appreciates big titty mommy more than I do, so I will let him take it away.
She deservedly, the voice actress that portrayed her deservedly won an award for her work at the Game Awards this year. So who can argue with an award-winning performance? Also, she's a 9 foot tall, semi-immortal vampire woman with big boobies. So what more do you want out of life? Or undeath, whatever.
Voluptuous, curvy, she's my dream woman. Right? I mean, like big old boobies, big old butt, just
and like,
and she's a good mother.
Yes,
sort of. She's very
sort
good
of. If you ignore the fact that she killed those girls.
Yeah,
she loves them. She loves them.
They're made of flies.
If you get caught by her, she picks you up and grabs you by the throat, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No,
if you're into that.
Does she do it with her boobies?
Yes,
she could.
Nice.
I missed that part of the game.
They're part of it.
Well, when she picks you up by like this, you can look down into her boobies.
That's where she does it.
It's
into the crevasse.
Valley. Yes.
Into infinity.
It's pretty great
and beyond.
Yeah. But like, legitimately, it's an amazing game. Like, it's such a heightened version of Resident Evil 4. It's got like all the things I loved about Resident Evil 4, but it's like just this like
the second area that you go to is like the dollhouse.
Oh, fuck that. That's just
that's the fucking creepy. That's the creepiest thing in the entire series of games.
Like, I was screaming, like literally.
Yeah, like that is
screaming. Like, I mean,
shit.
It was the only part of the game that was scary, and honestly, even though it was scary, it wasn't long enough.
That's what she said.
Ugh.
That is what the she's
the vampire mommy got all the press, but the Beneviento house was the best part of that game. Even the giant disturbing fetus monster.
Yeah, I agree.
It was amazing. Terrifying. It was so scary.
As you watch it fucking eat you. And not in the good way, in the bad way.
I had to see, it never actually caught me in the game.
It got us.
Oh no!
I got caught because I was frozen in terror. I just froze up. I was just like, "What? What is that?" And then I realized what it was, and then it was coming
into his mouth.
Yeah,
I saw it coming down the hall at me, and then I fucking noped out. I was like, "Turn around, run away!"
My brain noped out, so I couldn't run away.
I had a moment where I saw it coming and I'm like, and I'm like running and I ran like the wrong direction. And so I had to try to double back. And at that point I got eaten by the giant baby. And the whole time I'm just like, oh God, no.
We played through Resident Evil like old school style where it was like, if you die, then I play. And if and that's how we played through the whole game. It was fun. It was fun as fuck.
Yeah.
So what other video game experience, Christian, is there anything that Christian and Noel, did you guys ever end up playing the G.I. Joe game at all? Operation Blackout?
Yeah, I never did get it.
I did enjoy it.
It's fun. It's not, it's not complex. It's not a life changer, but it's a fun game to walk around and shoot shit.
No, I have a stack of games that I have that I still just haven't started. So
I moved my Switch downstairs when my mother-in-law moved in and just haven't hooked it back up yet. So just haven't gotten around to doing it. But there's a stack of games that I actually have too that I want to get around to playing. That's one that I didn't get by, but it was on my list.
I will say that this year at work, we at work in our break room, we had a PS5 hooked up. And the owners this year.
Your work is very different from my work.
Yes. No shit. Well, they built an actual arcade body to put the TV and the PS5 in.
That's amazing.
So usually about 6:15, when we're winding down for the day, there's a group of us. We go in and we power through some Mortal Kombat. And so that's been like 2021 for me. Like, the workday has come to a close when you're pulling some fatalities.
So I've got 2 video games. Back 4 Blood, which was basically like a new Left 4 Dead. Amazing.
But the reason that game is awesome is it's crossplay.
Yeah.
So we have an Xbox and a PlayStation, so me and Nicole can like play on 2 TVs.
Is that where you dress up as a lady and she dresses up as a dude?
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to.
That's
where I went to, Dave.
I get the shotgun. Great.
Yeah, so I played on Xbox.
Nothing wrong with that, by the way.
No, that's fine. We encourage that sort of thing.
Anything wrong with that. But we have, we have the mega TV set up in our living room. So we have like our main TV that's like, mounted and shit. And then we have.
That's what she said.
Because we just don't care anymore. So we're like, fuck it. Nobody comes over. Why should we even care? So then we have the Xbox on another TV. So we will game in, the same room, and we'll play cross-platform games. And that one, it's so fun to play like with each other, just like the old Left 4 Dead, when you just go out and fucking kill zombies, and it's really good, really fucking hard. As compared, because like as somebody who played a lot of Left 4 Dead, like Back 4 Blood's really hard, but it's a really good game. They've added a lot of new things to it that I think kind of makes it a little bit, it just makes it a little more fun, more interesting than just waves of zombies.
Yeah, I think Left 4 Dead couldn't really keep my attention.
Yeah.
I think that was my issue with it. I couldn't remember, because Ryan was asking me about it, and I couldn't remember why I didn't really get into it. But I think that was it, is there wasn't, nothing engaged me enough really to keep me going.
Yeah, Back 4 Blood added like a progression thing where you can kind of advance your character in certain ways, and you can get like, different clothes and accessories, and like
that's all I need. All I need is different colors of backpacks, and I will go all the way through a game.
I need a reward. Like, I need some sort of a thing that tells
That's
me.
why you love Jedi Outcast so
much.
much.
You've played this,
and I didn't, but I played through the whole fucking game, even though like the enticement sucked.
Ooh, a new poncho.
Right.
And then my second game of the year, and if anybody else likes to play co-op games, it's called It Takes Two. It is a game that is only.
Oh my gosh! Is it Rob Bass?
It's actually
and DJ Easy Rock.
This game
came to get down.
It won Game of the Year, at least at one of the.
Did it? Same thing. Where Big Titty Vampire Lady won her award.
Yeah. It's fucking incredible. It's a co-op only game. I highly suggest it to anyone, but you have to play it with an actual person. But it's fucking.
Nope.
That's Beth and I are on the same wavelength. Anything that involves another person, I can't do.
See, I want good co-op games. Is it like split screen, or how does the co-op work?
No. It's completely dynamic. Since it's based around co-op, it's constantly changing. Sometimes it's like over the top, like Diablo, and sometimes it's a first-person shooter. And
nice!
It changes throughout the whole game. And the whole
that's great, because that's one of my biggest problems with the later Lego games is because of the way the co-op works. They do like the dynamic split screen, and it's just fucking annoying.
No, it's nothing like that. It's actually like all on one screen. But like it's meant for 2 people, so the entire time you're playing it, it keeps changing. Like,
that's great. I'm texting
you
Phantom
have to have
Junior
a
right now.
committed person, because there was a game that came out a couple of years ago. No Way Out, Way Out.
Same guy. Same guy made it.
That game is so good, but the buddy I was playing it with ended up selling all of his gaming stuff, and so I was never able to beat it. And like you said, you can't go back and replay it. and it recognizes who you play with. So if I was to start with another person, we had to start all the way at the beginning. And I was like, fuck this noise.
It's an experience to play with like your gaming partner. You know what I mean? Like, and actually It Takes Two, the story is about a married couple that has grown apart and their daughter gets really upset and accidentally
everybody.
It's not on Switch.
Like she like accidentally like turns them into dolls, and then they have to go through all these adventures to get back to like being human again. So it's about a married couple like refinding each other. So like you can totally play it like as friends or whatever, but like if you play it like, you know, a couple plays it together, it's a really kind of cool experience. So I absolutely recommend it. It was one of the most fun times that we've had like playing it. We love to game together. So it was.
What was that game where you have like a moving company and you have to cooperate?
Oh shit! Moving out.
That game is a good way to get divorced, but it's also awesome.
That was a lot of fun though. We played that early in the year and we had a lot of fun with that.
I think Cuphead almost led to Rebecca and I's divorce because
Cuphead is insanity. I can't even deal with that.
It's harder co-op, I think, than it is if you play it one way.
I think you're right. You're right.
I love Cuphead so much, but it is like dick punchingly hard.
Did you actually beat? Did you beat Cuphead?
Yeah. But really? I hate myself and I love shooters, so I got
shooters. Beaten by Cuphead, and I just tapped out.
Little known fact: I can't believe that there's a game based around moving. Like, if you told me there was a game based around moving, I would have been like, "What? Dude, there's like 90s.
There's a new one.
Did you get this from?
You have to throw. That's not even like a moving truck.
Have you guys not had
there's
enough time?
That sounds horrible.
To realize there was nothing fun about it.
So I got an Oculus Quest this year, like a VR headset.
Me too.
And there's actually a game on that called Job Simulator. I didn't buy it because I hate my own job enough. I don't need to simulate another one. Yeah, but it's something.
Well, and you know what? That's to go back to what we opened with. That's one of the things I found interesting about the new Matrix is the point that humans like migrate towards suffering.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's like,
and I think there's some truth
if you've ever read up on Buddhism, you'll know that's a truism.
One of my favorite video games of all time is one called Tokyo Bus Guide that came out for the Dreamcast like 20-something years ago, where the object is to drive a bus and obey the rules of traffic. And I played that game for hundreds of hours.
Which is good, but still not as good as Seaman.
Well, nothing will ever be as good as Seaman.
Seaman, yeah. Seaman.
I do love Seaman.
Seaman.
All right. So there were some. The point I was going to make is for me personally, I think part of the sort of block to me starting a new video game is that video games are so much more complicated to start now. Like we've just talked about quite a few games that are pick up and play games, but so many of the games that I want to play, like I have to be able to devote like an hour just to starting the game before I really get to play it at all. And then there's a learning curve for everything. Like, and that to me, I think is what is my personal, like kind of block to getting into new games is I'm like, I don't want to fucking learn. It's the same reason I don't quit my job. I don't want to learn a whole new thing. I don't have time for that. I'm old and tired.
Dude, believe me, I sympathize with that outlook on employment.
Yeah, it's like that's literally the only reason I don't have a different job.
I get it though. I mean, I've restarted Skyrim like 10 times because I keep forgetting where the hell I am and what I'm supposed to be doing.
I've done that with Jedi Outcast 3 times. Not Jedi Outcast. I mean, Fallen Order.
I couldn't tell if that was Mean Gene or J. Jonah Jameson.
It is J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, I thought it was Mean Gene.
He wants pictures of Spider-Man. Damn it!
Well, sorry, buddy.
I say you should get a Quest because those games download quick and there's like you don't have to do shit. You just fucking play them.
But that's like a lot of money, right?
Look, moving defeats the purpose of why I play video
$100.
games.
It's $2.99.
Like there are some games
$300.
But that's, I mean, yeah, but like that's a console.
Again, says the guy that bought Snake Mountain at secondary market
but
prices.
I get enjoyment out of Snake Mountain every single day. All right, well, maybe we'll see. Do people get used?
I want a Nintendo.
Do people get used Oculuses?
I mean,
I guess they do because we sold if you remember, Arian, I'm sure you do, the Virtual Boy.
It burned your eyes.
When I worked at Video Game Exchange, we got literally every Virtual Boy we sold got traded back in because it was such a piece of shit.
It sucked. Yeah.
And people would buy the used one and then bring it back. Like that console was hilarious.
Quest is a lot better.
Well, okay, thanks guys. I needed that clarification. I was just thinking about the idea of getting a used console that somebody else had put on their face.
Yeah, it's not good.
Gross.
A little swab.
You can, and
give it a swab.
Like I did.
I wouldn't buy a used one.
I did
regardless.
get a secondary market, like a face cover thing that goes over. Like,
oh, Noel is putting something on his face. He looks like Dean Cameron from Snow School.
Yeah. Noel is VR. John Wick is. VR Jesus.
Are we in VR now? To you, Noel? Am I touching your nose right now? Wow. So Noel is that an Oculus? What is that?
No, it's just a little thing you slip your phone into. It was like it was like $10. It was like $10 at Bed Bath and Beyond. So I was like, all right, I'm going to buy this.
Well, that's like the same thing as an Oculus, right?
That was
completely the same.
Well, Bed Bath and Beyond is known for their high-end consoles.
That's the Beyond part.
Yeah. Because it's not for the bed or the Beyond.
All right. So, any last video game thoughts? Anything people should be aware of?
Mine is so Nicole, my beautiful wife, got me Oculus Quest 2 for Christmas, and the first thing I downloaded for it was Resident Evil 4.
Ooh,
and
how is that?
It's the full game, the entire game in VR, and it's so badass. Like I just ended up beating the giant guy, Gargantos or whatever.
El Gigante.
Yes, I wasn't even close.
El Gigante,
the WCW wrestler who died,
come out and hump Hulk Hogan.
No, that was the Yeti. That was a different guy.
Oh, that was a different guy. I thought that was the same.
Yeah, that was Ron Reese.
Oh,
El Gigante was Giant Gonzalez in WWE.
Okay.
Playing Resident Evil 4 in VR is like the shit. Like it's so awesome. I'm loving it. And it's actually easier because you can aim so perfectly and you can just shoot people right in the fucking face.
Well, here's my other barrier with any kind of like Oculus VR Bed Bath and Beyond helmet. Is at some point I know myself I'm going to have to buy a PlayStation 5 for Suicide Squad and for God of War.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that's happening. So I have to be ready for that whenever that is going to happen. Because Phantom Jr. has a PS5, but I would need my own for that.
In theory, God of War is coming out next year. I would not be surprised if it slipped till 2023.
Oh, shit. What about Suicide Squad?
That's next year, and
But is that in theory next year, or is that?
I am more confident. I am more confident that Suicide Squad will come out next year than I am God of War.
Although I've got to say, after seeing that gameplay trailer, I'm slightly less interested in Suicide Squad because it looks. Really? Look. I want the next Arkham game. I don't want the next
That's not what this game's going.
I know. And that's disappointing to me. I don't want what is it, Republic Commando, where you like control a squad or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not into that.
This is going to be.
I'm not into that. So maybe I should just get.
I think it looks fucking awesome.
Maybe I should just get an ocular helmet.
You could get both, and just sell.
Do you understand how many fucking toys are coming out next year?
It's true.
It's okay with the delay. They're not coming out to 2023.
That's a good point. So, that's a very good point.
Got some time
all your pre-orders are going to just be fucking sitting there languishing until 2023.
That's very true. Yeah. All right, we're going to move on to TV, which I don't know if TV is even an applicable term anymore because we're going to be talking probably mostly about streaming stuff. I know, as unthinkable as it is, there are some here tonight who are not huge fans of the character of Hawkeye.
I love Alan Alda, so I was a big fan.
Oh, jeez. You know what the do you know what the MASH theme song meant to me when I was young? It meant it was time to change the channel.
Yeah, trash.
Oh,
so
MASH. You don't like MASH? Oh, we got to get divorced then.
Ew.
I would rather see the train.
I love MASH.
Well, you were there.
I was there. You're right.
Oz was in the Korean War.
No, you're right.
That's where he got his nickname of Oz.
On the sliding scale of Marvel wars. It was World War II. It was Korean War.
Right,
at some point, it's just,
Yeah, he just keeps moving up. So I thoroughly enjoyed Hawkeye to the point where I could see myself watching it like every Christmas because it's 6 episodes. It's great.
Yep.
One of the things that we were talking about, because we with the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff, we sit down, we watch it as a family, and we make a point of everybody being available so we can sit down and watch the new episode together. Which, real quick, do you guys prefer everything getting dropped at once?
Yes.
Or weekly drops?
All at once. I want instant gratification. Yeah. Thank you.
I want to see the next episode when I want to watch the next episode.
I prefer weekly because it gives you time to think about what you just watched, to enjoy anticipation of the next episode, to build up like what's going to happen, to talk about it with people, as opposed to sitting down watching 8 episodes of something and not even remembering what happened in the second, third episode.
I will say that
that sounds like socialism. No,
well, Arian would know.
Yeah, I will say that I do enjoy. Generally speaking, I enjoy the week to week releasing of stuff better. But I will say that it does lend itself, and we saw this with several of the other Marvel series this year, people kind of working themselves into a frenzy with speculation and like building up unrealistic expectations.
And you're right about that.
It's going to be Mephisto. Like it's not going to be Mephisto.
Everything is Mephisto. They're like the new Spider-Man movie, Mephisto, Loki, Mephisto.
So I think that if you dump everything at once, people don't work themselves into like there's no like PC way to say this. People don't work themselves into a mentally challenged state. Like that's like speculating what could happen.
That's a viewer problem, though. That's not the problem of the people who provide the content.
Yeah, but like
it's not Netflix's fault. People are stupid. I mean, it probably is, but
I mean,
you know what I mean.
Use Netflix as your example. I know this wasn't 2021, but for some of their series, let's use BoJack. The final season of BoJack Horseman, you got the first 6 episodes, and then there was like a 6-month gap, and then you got the rest.
The worst.
So, but
yeah,
the way
boys did that.
The way those episodes are connected, it's really meant to be watched back to back to back. It would not have that same impact if you were waiting week to week. I loved WandaVision. The people I work with, they hated it, and they didn't make it past episode 3. And I keep telling them now, go back and watch them back to back to back, because I feel like those episodes were meant to be just one right after another, so you can see what they're doing, versus having a week of going, well, it's not like the movies, I don't really get it. because these are people that don't read the comics, that have no basis around anything.
Yeah. So especially with WandaVision being a slow burn like it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I loved WandaVision so much.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I point to even something like Lucifer. When Lucifer moved to Netflix, it was somewhat still episodic, but they knew, okay, everything is dropping at once. So for the people who binge, we're going to make that story flow in such a way that you want to go right into the next episode. If you need to take a break, there are certain filler episodes where you can take a break and wait, but you're meant to get this chunk of the story all at once so it makes sense.
And I think it does depend on the content, because there are things that if they're less intellectually engaging, I don't mind just burning through a bunch of episodes at once, because it's just there. It's filler. It's brain candy. I'm not that worried about it.
Sitcoms, right? I can watch this. Well, and that's actually one of the things.
Tiger King was great to binge.
Yes, yes.
Like I gave up on Community watching it through the first time because the last season I just wasn't digging that much, and I went back and watched it again this year and watched it binge, and I was like, okay, I actually liked the last season.
Yeah.
Watching it all as one collective, but I couldn't get through it week to week to week when it was on initially. But if like a show like The Mandalorian, I don't want to binge that. I want that.
I want to savor it
on each one of those episodes for a week. And like when The Walking Dead was a good show,
it's weird that we
was
haven't
a show
had,
you had to watch that way.
We had Bad Batch, but we didn't have any live action Star Wars this year. It's been kind of weird.
We got one coming up in a week or so.
Yeah, just a few days from now, actually.
2 days. Okay, yeah.
We're watching Dexter, and Dexter is
the new Dexter or the old Dexter?
The new one. The new one.
I haven't. Okay, so the old Dexter, I loved, and then thought it had the absolute worst ending in the history of storytelling.
I agree.
Yes, it did.
I was excited for the new one until I realized it was going to be on Showtime. Well, I haven't watched True Blood because I'm not that demographic. But
that's okay. Even the gays were tired of it. Come on.
I love Dexter.
But the new Dexter, I want, because I enjoy enjoying things, and I want things that turn to shit to have an opportunity to redeem themselves. So I was super stoked about the new Dexter until I saw it was on Showtime, and we don't subscribe to anything that carries Showtime. So I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
It does, so far, it has redeemed itself. Like, it's fucking
okay.
Fantastic.
Really good. Yeah.
I mean, I'm ready to love Dexter again, because it as good at, look, one of my top 5 moments in the history of television is surprise, motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
That moment is one of the greatest things. It's worth watching all of the original run of Dexter just for that moment.
Yeah.
I read the books, absolutely loved, obsessed with the books.
I didn't know there were books until you said books just now.
I watched the show.
I'm a dum-dum.
I watched the show up to a certain point, and then I was like, I'm done watching the show. So I didn't.
Oh, so did you like not finish it the first time?
No, I did not see the last season of it
I did,
because I was such a fan of the books, and I don't know. I just didn't watch the last season.
No, I understand. I understand.
Fine. I do that with a lot of things where I'm like, and I'm good.
As a Stephen King fan, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. So I was just like, this is where I want to keep my brain at with this IP. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I do need to go back and like consume the whole thing at some point.
No, don't. Just leave your memories ending with John Lithgow.
Yeah.
And then
like season 4.
Nothing. Halloween 2018, that shit. Nothing else happened. Until, where did his son come from? I don't know.
Don't need to know.
No, I will Metallica it. So Metallica released 4 albums, and that's it. Metallica released 4 albums. They never released another album after that.
Hard disagree with that.
Anyway.
Yeah, I do too. Death Magnetic was pretty fucking awesome.
Anyway, but the new show, it's now 10 years later, and you're catching back up with Dexter, who is trying to have like a new Start. I don't know. It's really worth it. You should absolutely watch it.
Okay, we're going to put a button in Dexter because we've got so much more we have to talk about, but it is good to know.
I got one suggestion for new shows that I've started watching this season or this year. The new MacGruber show on Peacock. Amazing. The best shit ever.
I didn't realize that had started already.
I don't believe you.
I'm looking for
it. But I will try it.
It's fucking awesome.
It is actually really fun.
It's fucking amazing. I want to watch
Last Man on Earth, when the trailers came out for it, I was like, this looks dumb.
I loved it.
But then when I watched it was so funny.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Will Forte.
Thank you. I'm like, the alcohol has affected my brain now. I can't remember his name. Everything he has done is so funny.
And speaking of which, that's a good example of one that I think is better when you can binge it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would have had trouble watching Last Man on Earth week to week, but I watched it once it became available streaming or whatever. And I recognize, like, I would not keep up with this if it was week to week, but being able to watch like 3, 4, 5 episodes at a time, I can get into this. I ended up enjoying it.
You'll be happy you did.
Okay. I trust you.
It's on my list.
It's really great.
Since I have to pay for Peacock, I might as well watch it.
Right.
So many amazing dick jokes. It's wonderful.
I'm giving you a reason to use your Peacock app.
I don't need a reason to use my Peacock, buddy. All right. I am going to throw some names out there, and we're going to decide which ones we want to spend a little bit of time on. So everybody listen for just a second, and we'll circle back to the things that we need to mention. What If, Loki, The Bad Batch, Only Murders in the Building, WandaVision, Midnight Mass, I Think You Should Leave, Squid Game, Titans, we already talked about Dexter, and the return of G4. So, Christian, out of that list, is there anything that jumped out at you, or do you have an alternate suggestion?
That was a lot.
There was a lot to unpack. I would have to agree with that. I'm glad he didn't pick me.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'm going to throw this out there
because
then.
There's so much of it that I watched. However, there's so much of it that I think is okay. And then there's some stuff like, I will admit, I have not watched Squid Games. However,
I have not
watched Squid Games because I have seen that in so many other things that I really, really love, that the people that keep telling me, oh, Squid Games is the greatest thing ever, they have not seen any of these other Japanese movies that I have.
It's like somebody who hasn't seen Blade Runner telling you to watch Johnny Mnemonic.
Right. So I'm kind of like, will I get around to it when I have nothing else to watch? I'm sure, but I'm not into the hype, the same way that they are.
Well, and as much as I like to think that my pop culture sensibilities have evolved over the years, I do still have my dumb resistance to overnight sensations. There are bands that I could not get into in the 90s because it seemed like they were immediately hot. And even though I recognized, like, oh, this band is pretty good, I just like Nirvana. I just couldn't do it because they were just, boom, they were the biggest thing in the world. And Squid Games hit me the same, Squid Game, it's singular, it's not plural, hit me the same way.
More than one game.
All of a sudden, everybody was talking about this, and I was like, I can't do it. Tiger King, I got in early. So, like, I was able to enjoy and immerse myself into that. But Squid Game, by the time I heard of it, everybody was already saying how incredible it was. And I was like, no, I don't like this new shit people are talking about. Fuck that. Which is dumb.
So
I'm going to be the asshole and say it's really fucking good.
There's nothing wrong with that. It probably is.
I'm sure it is.
And a lot of these people have never seen Battle Royale or Alice in Borderland.
I have.
And even Hunger Games.
Okay, but you're not talking to people who have never watched foreign shit before,
Right.
We didn't watch it dubbed. It was very enjoyable. I thought Squid Games
there was some new interesting concepts that I haven't seen before.
I didn't like it. I'm not saying I didn't like it.
Now,
I know anything.
I said I liked it. I just don't like Hawkeye. Damn, it's one thing.
I hate Hawkeye. That guy.
Look, you guys, Oz is trying to clarify if Squid Game is just cornhole with squids. Let's answer his question.
You just take little squids and you throw them in a hole. That's it.
Is it? No. My question is, I started watching it. I'm like an episode and a half in, and it didn't grab me at all.
That's how I felt about The Witcher.
So. The Witcher Predator, but it is. Does it?
Whoa! What the fuck did you just say?
What words happened?
I'm sorry. Can we turn on the Oz subtitles?
Oz watching the Squid Game
because Oz, I'm pretty sure you just said The Witcher.
Oz, do you smell burning toast?
Are you having a strunk?
I smell citrus.
I was like me going to the dollar store.
Where?
And I had a stroke.
Where did The Witcher touch you?
Can you show us on the doll?
You can, because McFarlane Toys is producing Witcher action figures.
How the fuck did we get on The Witcher? We're talking about Squid Game.
Because I understand we're talking about Squid Game, but I'm dying for somebody to give me a reason to want to watch The Witcher, because I watched the first episode and it was like watching a piece of toast to me.
100%. And our old roommate kept telling me, oh, you just got to stick with it. It's like episode 3, it all starts to make sense. And I'm like, I don't want to wait.
Right.
I don't want to be that confused by the time I get to episode 3. I kind of need some.
I would kind of agree with that, though.
And I'm susceptible to hunky Henry Cavill in a bad wig. I'm not going to lie, but I just watched that first episode and I was like, I got better shit to do. So somebody lay it out. What is this thing?
It's my favorite fantasy world, period. Like, I love it. I love the games. I love the books. I love that fucking world. It is like everything I love about fantasy, but with a lot of fucked up monsters and horrible shit in it. And I fucking love it. It's like Supernatural mixed with Game of Thrones, and I'm fucking in.
And I had no sense of that from the first episode, which was my problem.
Right? Are you describing Witcher or Showgirls right now? Because
now what we're talking about? Are we not talking about Squid Games?
He's talking about Elizabeth Berkley's vagina.
Joe Esterhouse's The Witcher.
Talk about a monster.
Now I can see that. As much as I love The Witcher, I have read a bunch of the books. I've played some of the games. I can understand why people maybe don't get into the world without all that backstory behind it, because especially the first season and the first book is short stories, and it's a terrible introduction to the series, honestly, because none of it makes sense and goes together.
The first episode or two of the series is really like poorly constructed. My friend Stephanie watched the first 2 episodes. And she texted me, she's like, I don't know if I'm going to stick with this. And then like 2 days later, she texted me back. She's like, I finished the first season. It was great. So,
yeah. Is this one of those where like, if I go ahead and just skip to episode 3, I can't be possibly any more lost than I was on episode 1. So I can be like, okay, now I'm enjoying it. And I'll go back and rewatch episode 1 and 2.
Well, so we are we're rewatching season 1 right now to get prepared for season 2, because I will admit I started season 2, like I fully followed season 1, but like I got to season 2 and I was like, wait, what the fuck's going on? And I had to start over.
Dude, that's how I felt about Lock and Key. Yeah. I watched the little last season on Lock and Key. I watched that little deal and I was like, I don't fucking remember any of this. I'm going to have to watch the whole season again.
Yeah.
That was me with Lost in Space this year.
Yeah, same with Lost in Space. I watched the recap thing, and I was like, I do not remember where we were.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed both of those series.
Yeah.
But, and this goes back to my point about binging stuff, I think the fact that I watched them all in like a day, they didn't have the chance to sit and permeate and for me to really absorb them. So I didn't take them in quite as much as I would have if I'd been watching them over the course of a couple of months or whatever.
Yeah, and you might be right, like because like we watched the first season of The Witcher in like 2 days, and then like and then the pandemic happened, and then like a year, like 2 years later, they're like, here's season 2, and I'm like, what in the fuck is any of this?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm like, who's the guy with the white hair? Oh yeah,
that's we started watching the first episode of season 2, and we were both like,
I was like, when did this happen?
I didn't want to admit that I was like, I don't fucking remember what was happening.
That is the worst.
He was like, I don't remember.
When it's a show,
rewatch it.
When it's a show that you've watched as a couple, and you're both sitting there like, I don't want to admit that I have no idea what's happening.
That was the Cadaver household, yes.
Yeah, and that's we're pretty much to a point now where we're willing to say like, I'm sorry, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. And like 99 out of 100 times, the other one of us will be like, thank you, because I have no fucking idea what's happening.
That's what
we started quizzing each other, and we're like, what fucking what happened?
Yeah.
And so we decided to start over.
So we were watching the first season again because I heard the second season's great. I haven't watched it.
It is.
Yeah.
I have yet to watch it. So
I am willing to give it another shot, especially since it is, and again, this goes back to like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, since I know I can go back and watch that first season in a couple of days.
Yeah.
I'll go back, I'll give it a chance. I'm willing to do that. We were talking about binging versus episodic content. I think there are advantages to both, and it really depends more on what's being offered. But I do want to talk about, did any of you watch Only Murders in the Building?
Yes.
Not yet.
No, it's
on the list.
It is.
When you mentioned Tiger King, I was like, oh, yes, because number one, great to see Martin Short.
Yes.
On TV again.
I am morally opposed to Martin Short. I can't. Yeah.
What?
He just Martin Shorts everywhere. That's all he does. He's the same person.
But to see Martin Short and Steve Martin together again, working with, I think, the hugely underappreciated young lady with the big head whose name I can't remember right now. Selena Gomez. Thank you.
No, it totally made me appreciate her in a way that Wizards of Waverly Place did not.
She was outstanding. The whole show.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at this. Gets my highest recommendation. One of my favorite things of 2021. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. It's on Hulu.
If you are someone that enjoys listening to true crime podcasts, or like grew up reading true crime books, and this new wave, you're Don't Fuck with Cats and all this other sort of like super obsessive true crime people, the satire on that is so good.
Well, and watching it, because I am not into that, but my wife is, and I did feel like watching that she was actually getting even another level of entertainment out of it more than I was, because I loved it. But
when the fans show up, I was rolling, because I was like, this is everything that I keep avoiding about a lot of the podcasts that I listen to, because these people really exist.
And just seeing Steve Martin and Martin Short have no shame whatsoever. They're not above any of the things that happen in this. They're not like cool. It's really a fantastic show. I highly
recommend it.
All right. So all the Marvel shit was good, right? Loki, WandaVision.
I would like to especially single out Loki for praise, though. I think that ended up being my favorite of the four, which I would not have expected.
What were Hawkeye, What If, Loki, WandaVision? Is that all we got TV wise?
Falcon and
Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Falcon and Winter Soldier,
which I enjoyed, but was probably the lesser of them.
It was the most Marvel-y out of all of them, and
and isn't it weird for that to not be a good thing?
I feel like.
And it was such a good story about Sam. I
feel like,
it was great.
I liked it up until the last episode, and then I thought they didn't really stick the landing very well. Your mileage may vary.
It was great, but for some reason, and you know what? That's your point is exactly right. It was the most Marvel-y, and I think that's what was so great about What If, Loki, and WandaVision.
Is they weren't very Marvel-y.
They were outside of the box.
Well, WandaVision wasn't very Marvel-y for the first 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah.
But even after that, though, it was playing with things that the MCU had not really touched on. So even once it became more standard MCU fare thematically, it was still dealing with concepts that we hadn't seen a whole lot of.
Yeah.
I think
I just love the shit out of Loki.
It just didn't go far enough. We're going to get right on that edge where we can really go in. We're telling you that she's experiencing on this grief and done all these horrific things to these people, but we have to make sure that it's all wrapped up in a pretty bow in this last episode, 30 minutes. And I'm like, but couldn't we have gotten just a bit more? And I feel the same way about Loki. I think there was so much greatness to Loki, but it just didn't go. It was we're tossing little bits at you, and that should make you happy because we haven't done this.
But
we're not going to deep dive into it.
That goes really back to the point you made earlier, is that essentially, if you want to be really cynical about it, these were just runways to the next thing.
Yeah, and that's why I do not. The ending of WandaVision, spoilers, with the cabin was great. The shot of her after, right at the very end, I was like, I could do without that. And then you had to put in the tag, we're going to see her in Doctor Strange, and I'm like,
I love that shit, and that's just I don't strokes for different folks.
Going off that tangent, I don't want to see trailers at the end of my Marvel TV series and movies, and I hope that's not the direction they're going in now.
Here's where I'll accept the trailer, because Spider-Man No Way Home felt like an epilogue in the same way that Iron Man 3 felt like an epilogue. So the trailer for Doctor Strange, to me, felt appropriate because it was we have wrapped up all of this, and here's what's next. So, in that instance, for me, that felt
appropriate
right.
Because Doctor Strange was such a big part of Spider-Man No Way Home. But
he hasn't been a part of Wanda's story so far.
Right.
So couldn't we for once have something that just wrap it up and then leave it be so people can go?
But that's not what the MCU does, though. It's just not. I get it.
It goes back to in 5 years, are we still going to be talking about WandaVision like we are now, or are there going to be 10 other series that are filling in that gap?
That's the double-edged sword of the MCU success, is that in order for it to continue being an engaging, profitable franchise brand, it does have to move forward in that way. And that's, at this point, think about a few years ago, if you were like, hey, I want to refresh myself on the MCU before I watch the new movie, you could do that. Now, that would be an almost impossible task.
Yeah. No, it's not. Because only the last 2 movies before that mattered.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying,
You don't have to watch the 3 Iron Man movies
exactly
to have any sort of emotional attachment.
And that's exactly what they're doing. Is they move ahead and stuff gets left behind. So 5 years from now, WandaVision will be just as relevant as Iron Man 3 because they have to do that to keep it moving forward, to keep it relevant, to keep it engaging as people age out, as new people come in. There are already people who look at Tom Holland as more relevant to the MCU than Robert Downey Jr. We have already gotten to a generational thing in the MCU where people look back at like Iron Man and we're like, oh, that's the old shit. I like Strange. I know that sounds crazy, but that's part of how Kevin Feige is such a fucking genius, is he understands and look, one of the great tragedies of pop culture and not to downplay the impact on his family, his friends, whatever. I honestly felt that Chadwick Boseman was going to be the central figure of the MCU going forward. I don't know if that was the plan, but it seemed to me like that was the plan. And it was so smart because you do have to keep things going. Because think about it, just a few years from now, Tom Holland is going to be too old to be Spider-Man.
Right. So that's okay. Because you touched on the Chadwick Boseman thing, it's the same issue I had with Carrie Fisher. Yes, these people had an impact on characters that we love and obviously emotionally on all kinds of levels touched people. Why are we so scared that no one else can play these roles? Tony Stark sorry.
No, don't talk about recasting.
Okay.
That's just opening up a can of worms.
It really is. It really is. That matter of fact, you know what? I'm making a note right now. We are going to do an episode about recasting, yes or no. I'm putting that down because that's a whole other episode.
That being said, like Robert Downey Jr. is like 55 or something.
Right. So are we not supposed to have Iron Man movies anymore?
Well, but that's the thing is you have legacy characters where somebody else steps into that role, whether it's Riri, or you move it to Shuri or something else. Yeah. Like that's the magic of legacy characters. If for me personally, a better example is when Dick Grayson took over as Batman. Some of my favorite Batman was Dick and Damian as Batman and Robin. I fucking loved it. Yeah. And if movie studios had any balls whatsoever, they could embrace that kind of thing.
But also, like, so why do you think that Tom Holland's going to grow out of this role soon? Because, like, he could be Spider-Man until he's 55.
He absolutely could.
Yeah.
But what does the public, it's not about what you and I know about Spider-Man. It's not what about comic fans know about Spider-Man. It's how does the public perceive Spider-Man?
Fair enough.
And
I don't know. How did the public perceive Iron Man? They didn't give a fuck.
But that didn't matter.
Exactly.
And that's exactly the point, is that Spider-Man, Marvel didn't have to worry about what anybody thought about Spider-Man because they didn't have access to him. They could do whatever they wanted with Iron Man, with Thor, with Hawkeye, with Black Widow, because the public didn't give a fuck about any of those characters.
But also, when you go back and you look at those first movies, and this is the part where I want to shake social media people like a dead baby, is when Captain America was made, when Iron Man was made, when the first Thor was made, I don't care what tag they put at the end of the credits to make all of us comic book geeks geek out. They set out to make an individual movie. There was no plan in place, George Lucas.
I would say that, because I have never bought, I buy that George Lucas had, this is going to be, like, I have in mind this universe, but, like, I would buy that the MCU is more planned than like the Skywalker saga initially.
Possibly, but I feel like those first 3 movies, they set out to just make movies. Like Iron Man, there was no other. If it hadn't have hit, there was no loss.
I think Iron Man's after credits was more of a wink, wink. Like we'll see how this does.
Yeah,
and because Jon Favreau is the magical storytelling wizard of our generation, it happened. Because think about. I'm sorry to do a sidebar, but I have to. Jon Favreau, Marvel, Star Wars, Elf, greatest Christmas movie of all time. This one man is responsible for all of these things. How insane is that?
It's pretty nuts.
And he's just Mikey. He's just Mikey, you know.
He is just Mikey.
He's so money he doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
Christian, why are you shaking your head at Elf?
I'm not the greatest Christmas movie ever made.
I think it is.
I'm dubious as well.
What's better than Elf?
A Christmas Story.
Christmas Vacation is
Scrooged. Christmas Story, Christmas Vacation,
Bad Santa.
I'm talking about, and look, I know so many of you guys hate it. I know so many of you guys hate it when I get realistic and say you have to look at what the public perceives. But public perception, you can sit grandma down, you can sit me down, you can sit little kids down. Everybody is going to love Elf, unless you're just a complete douche. But Christmas Story, I'm fucking sick of that movie. I just am. And I watched it again for the first time in 15 years, and I'm still sick of that movie. And Bad Santa and Scrooged, look, I love Scrooged, but get out of here with that shit. That is not a mainstream beloved Christmas movie. It's just not.
It's what a Christmas Story is.
Christmas Vacation is, and it's a contender. Christmas Story, look, Christmas Story is probably a contender.
The reason why you're sick of Christmas Story is because it has dominated for 20, 30 years, 5 years, whatever.
When is the last time any of you watched A Christmas Story?
About
last week.
Yeah.
And you still love it. You still think it's great. It's still wonderful when he sticks his fucking tongue to the pole. And it's so funny that they're all being.
You just described my Saturday night. I'm never going to get sick of sticking my tongue to the pole.
Look, I will admit I'm in the minority on Christmas Story. I will admit that. But
I will say
Elf is 100% in the conversation.
But it's still Will Ferrell being Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
I love that.
Both sides because I love Elf as well.
No, it's not a bad movie. It's one of the only Will Ferrell movies I can tolerate.
And my point is that it's mind-blowing that this one dude is responsible for Elf, for the resurgence of Star Wars after the sequels almost killed it, and for whatever the fuck else we were talking about.
Iron Man.
The MCU, literally the topic of the last 20 minutes of conversation.
Happy Hogan. He's still a relevant part.
One of the moments I cried during No Way Home.
He was supposed to die in Iron Man 3.
And I'm so glad he didn't, because my gosh.
It's true.
Because that would have made a bad movie.
I love that they've given him a role even though Tony Stark's not around anymore.
Now, what I want is some kind of weird meta movie with Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, like a buddy cop movie with the two of them.
I want a buddy cop movie with Kate Bishop and Yelena below.
Yes. Well, I mean, chances are we're going to get like Young Avengers that'll be that. So I'm down with that.
Hopefully young Loki and alligator Loki.
Yelena's sardonic Russian is one of the best things to come out of the MCU. She is awesome.
I want more David Harbour as Red Guardian.
I mean, he's great. Don't get me wrong.
They're supposedly going to do a show about that. I'm not joking. That's the rumor.
Okay. So we got to keep going. Did anybody watch Midnight Mass?
Not yet.
Not.
Oh my gosh, really? A Cadavers. I'm a little shocked at you guys.
I have 8 streaming channels.
It's very fucking good. I mean, this is the guy that took oh shit, what is the Carlo Gugino chained to the bed for the whole entire fucking movie, the Stephen King book?
Gerald's Game.
Oh
yes, this is the man that somehow made a great cinematic version of Gerald's Game, and it's his take on vampire shit. It's fucking awesome. So if you have not watched Midnight Mass, watch it. Ryan, you are the one who brought I Think You Should Leave to my attention.
Yes.
And I can only stand to watch one episode at a time because it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah, fair enough.
Arian, have you watched this?
No.
I feel that you would enjoy it.
What's it called?
I Think You Should Leave.
I Think You Should Leave?
Yeah, the Cadavers introduced it to me when I stayed over them before Dragon Con.
Yeah.
And
well, that was really more them just giving you a hint.
Wow.
Ouch.
Wow.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
I'm kidding. Who wouldn't want that delightful giggle in their home? Yes.
But Arian would love it.
Yeah, I really think Arian would dig this. We're going to check back in on I Think You Should Leave.
It's a really it's my favorite like skit comedy show since Key and Peele.
It's so fucking uncomfortable though.
Yes.
It is really funny.
Yes.
And some of them get funnier if you watch them multiple times.
Well, I agree with that. Funny. Yeah. Some of them are funnier the day after. Like I watch some of these sketches and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This isn't even funny. And the next day I'm like, oh yeah, that was funny as shit.
Well, I've watched the one. I think it's from like the first episode, the one with him in the old man makeup.
Yeah,
I've watched that probably 5 times since you guys showed it to me, and it's funnier every time.
Yeah.
The cheese fucking kills.
Yeah. So we talked about Squid Game. Just real quick, I want to throw Titans out there because I think
I love Titans.
Yeah.
I know it's not necessarily what people want from Titans, from Teen Titans or whatever, but I just think it's really good and that they handle the characters in a very honest way.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's kind of how I feel about Doom Patrol. Like it's just
Doom Patrol is so good.
It's fucking good. Yeah.
I have not yet made it to Flex Mentallo. Doom Patrol.
He's great.
I thought it was. I really, really liked it, but for me personally, it's kind of challenging. Which is, I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just to sit and watch it. I've got to be in the right frame of mind. It's almost like an Aronofsky movie for me.
Yeah.
Like I've got to be in the right frame of mind to watch Doom Patrol, but it's great when I'm in that frame of mind.
But you mean you can't just put on Requiem for a Dream as casual background viewing?
No.
I went on a first date to that movie, by the way.
That did not surprise me in any way.
Was there a second date?
There was not a second date. There was also not making out after the first date. Shockingly.
But I mean, that is a sure sign to let someone know what you're in for.
That's sides. True. Better to let her know in advance.
No, she actually suggested it because we were talking about movies and we had both seen Pi and we both like Pi a whole lot, which was Darren Aronofsky's first movie. And then we're like, oh well, this thing's showing. Let's go check this out. So we did, and then once we figured out what it was, 10 minutes in, we just kind of looked at each other. It's like, Well,
I guess this relationship is over.
Yeah. You don't really recover from ass to ass.
No.
There's no second date.
So we talked about Dexter. Just real quick, because we got to move on to movies to wrap this thing up. G4 came back, and I'll be honest, I thought I would be a lot more excited about that than I have actually been.
Even with Xavier Woods.
The problem with G4 is that I can consume all the video game information that I need on YouTube. So there's not really a need for G4 anymore.
The landscape has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Because I used to watch G4 all the time, but now I have
Attack of the Show. Attack of the Show was destination viewing for us.
Yeah.
I literally.
I watched it a lot.
I'd get home from work and we would watch that every day.
I will say I enjoy watching Adam Sessler review games, but I do it on YouTube. Because they post all the videos on YouTube. So
I've been watching his reviews, and he still has it.
I do get nostalgic for him.
He still makes good points, and I enjoy what he has to say. But I don't like the only thing I use TV to watch TV is watching AEW, which shout out to CM Punk for coming back and saving wrestling.
Shout out to everybody in AEW for just being entertaining as fuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Bryan Danielson for being wrestler of the year.
Yeah, it's insane what he's done in the past 3 months. Not even 3 months. It's been because he came back on Labor Day weekend. So it's been less than 3 months, and man.
Every time he goes out, it's a fucking banger.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Well, as opposed to Punk, Punk is one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time.
Well, Punk,
but he's doing something different from what Danielson is doing, storytelling wise.
Punk's always been adequate in the ring, adequate to really good.
I'd put him above adequate.
I'm saying adequate to very good, but a lot of the attraction with Punk is him on the mic.
Yes.
And and because Punk's such a big comic book nerd, I feel they're trying to tell old man Logan in a wrestling form, and I think they're doing a good job with it. But we'll see.
I think Danielson came back to be on fire and to be the best wrestler in the world. I think Punk came back to tell a story that's going to take a little bit longer to tell, and he's in the right place because that's what AEW does.
Yeah.
And I want to thank AEW fans for turning it into Rick and Morty for me, because I can't watch it anymore because of the internet.
Yeah.
Well,
I know I can't watch wrestling. It's AEW has killed wrestling for me, even though it's probably the best product that's come out in 20 years.
That's tragic, because what's on the WWE on a weekly basis
is god awful garbage.
Dreck.
Yeah.
And it's not, just to be clear, and we're going to move on from wrestling. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but just to be clear, WWE, it's not the fault of the talent. They've got one of the best rosters they've ever had as far as being able to put on good wrestling matches. It's their creative is just completely dead. Yeah. All right, we got to move on to movies. Movies. we're going to do the same thing. And I understand we're not going to be able to keep up with everything that I list right here, but we're going to go around roundtable style to things that you guys want to talk about. But I'm going to throw out a list of movies. Do your best to absorb it, but we're just going to talk about some stuff. We had Venom, Absolute Carnage, or whatever the fuck it was called. Let There Be Carnage. Black Widow, Spider-Man No Way Home, Prisoners of the Ghostland, Red Notice, Shang-Chi, The Suicide Squad, Mortal Kombat, Gunpowder Milkshake, Kate, The Eternals, The Sparks Brothers, Vacation Friends, Space Jam 2, or whatever the fuck it was called, Coming to America, Cruella, Jungle Cruise, Malignant, The Resort, Candyman, Spiral, Lamb, Willy's Wonderland, Halloween Kills, and The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Make a Really Shitty Conjuring Movie. All right, I understand that was a lot of movies. That was just my list of the highlights of what I saw this year. We're going to start with Oz. It doesn't have to be off of that list, but Oz, when you think of movies from 2021, what springs to mind?
Wow. You know what? Well, like I said, I didn't really see a lot of those. I'll be honest. I mean, The one that jumps off is one of the ones that I did see was Gunpowder Milkshake. And I really liked it.
I did too. And that was after seeing a bunch of people talk about like, what a piece of shit. Oh, blah, blah. Like I saw a bunch of negative response from it. And then I watched it because it was free to watch at home. And I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed it.
I saw a negative response from my friend who says nothing negative about movies ever. He disliked it. And I was like, well, that must be bad. But then everybody else said, no, this is a good movie. So I haven't gotten around to watching it yet.
I enjoyed it.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun. It was bubblegum violence.
Yeah. To me, it's what Sucker Punch wished it could be if Sucker Punch had a plot.
I will agree with that. And not just because of the phenomenal, amazing Carla Gugino, who has come up twice now in this episode and deserves perhaps an episode of her own for being the greatest modern actor.
Any actor that was in Troop Beverly Hills and still has a successful career has my most respect and my
Shelley Long still appearing, or at least where I'm at in Modern Family. Shelley Long still appearing in Modern Family. So she's still hanging in there too. And still very funny.
Carla Gugino, who was erased from Spin City after one season because she didn't test well.
Yeah, well, the people who made that decision were fucking idiots because she is the greatest actor of all time.
Blame the audience.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I enjoy her.
I enjoy her in Sin City.
I enjoy her in literally everything she's in. And there was a show on HBO that I can't remember the name of right now. She's an assassin, and she's the main character. That's fantastic. Okay. So that's one for Gunpowder Milkshake. Lots of fun. If you haven't watched it, it's just a fun, violent movie. Speaking of assassins, about an assassin. The delightful Karen Gillan as an assassin. All right, let's move up to Arian. Movie-wise, just something you want to mention, maybe one that we haven't talked about yet.
So I feel like we've talked about most of the Marvel stuff, which is most of what I saw.
I don't know if we've discussed enough how much the Eternals sucked, but we can move on. That's okay.
I thought it was adequate. I'm sure I'm in the minority. So the two things that I really enjoyed were seeing, and I know everyone's mileage may vary, but an entertaining, really cool Dune adaptation, which I didn't think could be done. And I'm stoked that there's going to be a sequel to it.
They've said that's happening.
No, like 3 days after it opened, they're like,
okay,
we're going to do a sequel, and everybody's back on board and shit. They're just going to work schedules out.
Okay.
So that's cool. And also, I feel like we should talk more about Suicide Squad.
Yes, we should.
It was really fucking just great and enjoyable.
It deserved a better reception than it got.
Yes. I don't know why it didn't really. I think that one got really hurt by being opening on HBO Max.
Well, yeah, and absolutely.
Or is it the association with the first one?
That was my thought. Is that it's too closely associated with some crappy movies?
Little column of A and little column B.
So here's what we have to take into consideration there. I think you're right in that it was readily available on HBO Max. I think that hurt it. But I think to the everyman, and I'm talking about people who aren't on this podcast, people who don't listen to this podcast or any fucking nerd podcasts, I think you've probably got a really good point that first Suicide Squad is still seen as kind of a bomb and something that it's not great to be associated with. I think that probably tainted this one, and the sort of the double blow of the availability to those of us who wanted to watch it at home and the taint of the first Suicide Squad, which, by the way, I still enjoy, but I get it. People who don't like it.
I don't hate it.
And And the marketing people at Warner were just saying, "Oh, I wish we could say from the director of Guardians of the Galaxy."
Well, they did.
Can't do that. Oh, did they?
Yeah. No, they made it very clear. Honestly, the focal point of the marketing campaign was from director James Gunn, who brought you Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay. I guess I missed the marketing.
Squad. Yeah, it was, it was
that's another
James
thing.
Gunn
because in reality, that is a huge win for Warner Brothers and DC.
It should have been
James Gunn.
It should have been a triumph, but unfortunately, and I think if he had picked anything, because Warner Brothers very wisely said, James Gunn, please choose whatever you want, and we will throw billions of dollars at you to make your dream project. And I'm sure when he said, you guys, you know what I really like? The Suicide Squad, they were probably all like, fuck. Anything but that. Could you make a movie about the fucking bug guy from the New Gods comic?
Give me a James Gunn.
We are getting
Justice
a Peacemaker
League
show.
movie that takes place during the Giffen era.
Oh my gosh.
And that would be killer. I mean, but Disney realized their mistake very quickly on.
Yes.
And was like, oops, let's get him back.
Yeah, they were like, we got to bring that back over here.
It's also kind of
here's more money
though, because James Gunn was straight up like, yeah, I'll come back whenever I'm fucking ready because I'm doing this other shit.
Yeah, and
like, very true.
For anybody who had, because I bought as soon as it was available for pre-order, I pre-ordered the Blu-ray of the Suicide Squad, and I don't know how long it's been since I sat down with a Blu-ray and watched every single minute of special features and commentary and whatever else, but I did that with the Suicide Squad, and it's his crowning achievement, because it literally was Warner Brothers saying, you are James Gunn. Do whatever the fuck you want. Here is all the money in the world. Just take it away, buddy.
Yes.
And it's pure, unfiltered James Gunn, and it's phenomenal for that.
Yeah.
So many creators
book movie,
and so many creators cannot operate that way. They need the editor or the filter or whatever. James Gunn is not one of those guys, because the Suicide Squad is just as much as Slither, just as much as Super. It's just pure James Gunn.
Oh, okay. So we should give Suicide Squad some credit, because Slither had like totally disappeared from the landscape. Suicide Squad comes out, and then all of a sudden on Amazon Prime and these other streaming services,
everybody
Slither starts popping up, and now I started seeing conversations about it, and I'm like, what? You guys didn't see that in the theater when it came out?
That's what blew my mind.
So good.
Have you not seen it?
That's how I felt, is how have you not seen Slither? But again, it's that we're a different breed from even the average Joe that takes in a lot of movies, because you got to understand, there are still people in the world that think Tim Burton's Batman is the same as Christopher Nolan's Batman, is the same as the upcoming whoever's doing the new Batman. Like, they don't differentiate because they don't care. They just want to go see a cool Batman movie. They don't know who directed it. They don't know who wrote it. They don't care about any of that. That's your average level of pop culture, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Where I think James Gunn's Suicide Squad has legs that, even if it didn't do as gangbusters as WB thought it was going to, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, when somebody is going, oh, I've never seen that, and their friend goes, oh my God, you have to watch it, and they watch it, it is going to be just as good.
Well, I think
as watching it now.
The fact that within a couple weeks or something, the fucking Peacemaker series comes out, that's going to help with that process.
That's going to give it a lot more visibility as well, because streaming is a whole. Again, I'm going to make a note. That's a whole other episode about streaming overtaking theatrical movies.
But like
people are gonna.
It's always like what's now. Like people want to know like what's happening now. So like they'll just tune into the new thing.
Well, what's happening
feel like
ended like in 1978.
Yeah, I was going to say what's happening now.
What's happening now was not right. It was not as good.
So Venom. Who saw? Well, first of all, who even enjoyed the first Venom movie? I did, but that probably doesn't surprise anybody. Ryan, I know you have this insane take where you liked that other fucking movie more than Venom.
What other movie?
The one where the guy, it's like the same as Venom, but the guy has like robot parts instead of Venom parts.
The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
There was a movie that came out at the same time as Venom, like Implant or Download or some shit.
I didn't see that.
A guy gets like no. This was you. The guy gets like cybernetic enhancements.
Oh, I know what movie you're talking about, but what was?
I can't remember what it's called now. And I thought I saw Venom first, and then I saw that movie, and I was like, well, this is just a sad, depressing version of Venom. But Ryan, you saw that movie first, and you were like, well, Venom was just a dumb version of this more badass movie. I think it's called Download. I'm not it's not Download. I don't know what the fuck it is.
You're 100% thinking of somebody else.
No, I'm not. It's definitely you, because I was shocked that you didn't enjoy Venom. Because I was like, I think Ryan will dig this. So did anybody see Let There Be Carnage?
I have not seen either Venom.
I've not seen either one.
Well, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. We'll move on. Now Ryan is left, so we can't talk about Prisoners of the Ghostland.
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are. Cheez-It. That was the name of the movie. A guy got implanted with Cheez-Its and was able to fight villains with his cheesy goodness.
That was a documentary about me.
True. Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Oh my God.
My God. It wasn't weird enough to be as awesome as Mandy.
Yeah, true.
But it was still like entertaining Nicolas Cage stuff.
You skipped a Nicolas Cage movie. You left Pig off your list.
Which one?
You also left out Willy's Wonderland.
He didn't. That's on his list.
No, that's on there.
Yeah. But it's a. I
have not seen Pig. I haven't seen Pig yet.
Pig is good. Pig's too good to be a Nicolas Cage.
It's actually a good movie.
Here's the thing about Pig. Don't take anything that you think it's going to be, put that aside and just watch the movie, because it is not the movie that you think it is going to be.
Yeah, it's just a straight up good drama.
But it's a very, very good movie. But you absolutely have to consciously put aside what you think it's going to be.
Ghostland, this
Prisoners of the Ghostland.
This motherfucker has a bomb on his testicles. Well, one for each testicle.
Yeah.
And just go to YouTube and search Nicolas Cage testicle. And watch. Yes.
I'm with Beth. No.
But Ryan. The movie is called Upgrade.
I've never seen that movie.
No.
It is about a cyborg vigilante.
It doesn't matter how much you explain it.
It stars Logan Marshall Green.
I don't know who that is.
I know what you're talking about. I've never seen it. And I had a very mild take on Venom. I was like, it was all right. So
I swear I thought that was you.
100% thinking of somebody else.
Well, then I apologize to you, and for thinking you were the idiot that was saying Upgrade was better than Venom.
No, I
How
never
many
said
strokes are going to be on this show tonight?
I don't know, but I'm having one right now.
I will say this.
Stroke Fest 21.
Eminem song where he's just like Venom, gotta win 'em.
I don't judge a movie based on a song by a way overrated performer, so I don't know what to tell you about that.
Sure.
All right. Pig, great. Red Notice. What the hell was even Red Notice? I put it on my list and now I can't even remember what it was.
Oh,
It's The Rock.
Man.
The Rock and Gal Gadot
which gave
Ryan
birth
Reynolds.
to the worst WWE segment in years.
Right. Which is saying something.
Egg gets
I think it was Land of the Dead that led to the worst WWE segment in years.
Oh, no. You've missed the egg.
No, you're right, because Land of the Dead was the one that led to Miz being eaten by zombies.
That's somewhat humorous.
No, you're wrong. I'm sorry. You're wrong. No, nothing is worse than the Miz being eaten by zombies in WWE continuity. So yeah, Red Notice was crap. Shang-Chi, fucking amazing. We already talked about it.
Absolutely fantastic.
The Suicide Squad, fucking awesome. Mortal Kombat,
I love it.
Fantastic.
far better than it had any right to be.
Yes. I jumped up off the couch at one point and put my arms up in the air and was like, fuck, yes.
I'm going to tell you right now,
absolutely in.
even a mild, it was okay, is better than I expected it to be.
Yes.
Oh.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
That and the new Resident Evil movie are like my two favorite video game.
I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it.
It's awesome.
We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's very good. It's what you wanted.
It's cheesy, but it's great.
In 2002.
I don't expect a Resident Evil movie to be cheesy.
Okay. It's I will say this. Overall, I enjoy the other Resident Evil movies more. But this one is, if you love the games, it gives you the games.
Yep. Exactly.
That's all I ask for.
Kate is a 2021 American action thriller directed by Cedric Nicholas Troyan. I don't know who the fuck that is. Who couldn't get through it? Who said that? Right. You really?
Yeah, I couldn't get through it.
Oh, wow. I really liked it.
So I will admit, like, I was inebriated and probably was not giving it the chance I should have given it.
I don't believe you.
You've been drunk since you were 4. Come on.
So last week.
The CGI was fucking terrible, and it was like so fucking hard to look at. Am I thinking of the same movie? Like it was like in Japan.
It's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and she meets the little girl. Yeah, I looked at it as like Sin City.
Okay.
I wasn't looking at it as
maybe I wasn't in the right mindset.
This is some shit, and that's possible. I wasn't looking at it as this is some shit that's taking place in like the real world. I was looking at it as like a hyper real, like Sin City type of thing. Like, because it seemed to me that it established from the start, you're going to see some wacky like comic book shit. Mm-hmm. This is not The Professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So And look, I'm terrible about not picking up on the tone of things and appreciating them for what they are. So I totally get it. I totally understand. This one, I just happened to catch me at the right time. And I was like, oh, I get it. I see what we're going for here. And it was another one that to me was kind of like, if Sucker Punch had been good, it would have been kind of like this.
Dave, may I jump in real quick?
Because please do.
You stopped going from person to person and started going movie by movie.
Yes, I did.
But I wanted to point out a glaring omission on your list.
Oh, go ahead.
You skipped Nobody.
I have not seen it yet.
It's so good.
I haven't seen it either, but
I didn't put anything that I haven't seen on the list. I was kind of leaving it up to you guys to fill in the blanks. So
I forgot that came out this year.
Yes. I had forgotten that one, but
early this year.
It was on my list of like favorite movies this year.
Well, when I first saw the trailer, I was like, do I really need to see Slip and
that's
Jimmy
how I felt.
Playing John Wick, and then I watched it and I was like, oh yeah.
The answer is yes.
Absolutely need to see that.
Some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen.
Is it free? Is it free?
It's so short. It's like 80 minutes long. You can get through it like super fast.
Is it free yet? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know. I watched it on a plane.
It's worth owning.
It's so good.
It's really good.
Okay. I believe you all.
It's as good as the first John Wick movie to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not just the John Wick ripoff. I mean, yes,
it's not. Kind of, but it isn't.
But no, watch it. It's fantastic.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of room for the idea of John Wick in different ways to be presented in different ways. I have no problem because that's what Kate and Gunpowder Milkshake, both of those were John Wick, but with ladies. Like that's fine. I have no problem with like central badass character.
And nobody kind of starts that way, but then it sort of blooms into its own wonderful thing. It's absolutely great.
I'm down with that. I will never get over. Like, I mean, honestly, it goes all the way back to like Death Wish. Like that formula. I'm down. Give me as many different interesting iterations on that as you want to, and I'll sign up and check it out.
And it's with the humor of Bob Odenkirk rather than the seriousness of Keanu.
Yeah.
Right.
The Sparks Brothers.
I don't even know what that is.
Because I'm going to go see Sparks next year.
Holy fucking shit, you guys. Look, I'm not trying to sound like Mr. Snooty music guy because you all know I am not that. But Sparks, one of the most like influential without being known bands ever. And this is a documentary about them. I think anybody
by Edgar Wright.
Yes, by Edgar Wright. And that's the thing I always forget to point out because honestly, like I love Edgar Wright, but I don't really care that he directed this as integral as it is because I was just interested to learn about Sparks because they're so fucking enigmatic. And the documentary opens with nobody knows anything about you guys. And they go through this list of questions about the brothers. And it's phenomenal. Anybody who has ever listened to music should check out the Sparks Brothers, and I think it's on Netflix. I think you can watch it for free now. If you've ever listened to music, you should watch this movie. All right, so Beth, you spoke up, and I'm glad that you did because I totally forgot about Nobody, and I need to watch it. Noel, is there anything outside of the list?
Yes. Even though this technically came out at a festival in 2020, but it was in Canada, so that doesn't count.
No, it does not.
My favorite Troma movie that's been made in 20 years that wasn't actually made by Troma, which I know you've seen too, is Psycho Goreman.
Yes.
I was hoping someone would mention it.
It was so much fun, and I can't go a day without singing I'm the heckin' best. It's just, it now lives in my brain. And so
it was absolute perfection.
It really was.
The fight scene in the woods is a better kaiju movie than Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes. And the whole reason why I was even introduced to it was because if you ever watch any Red Letter Media stuff, they were talking about it on one of their shows, on one of their Half in the Bag shows. And Rich Evans, who's part of Red Letter Media, does the voice of one of the creatures in that big kaiju battle in the woods. He's the oh my god, that's his very distinctive voice. So I was like, all right, well, I'll watch it based on their recommendations, and I had to go back and watch it a second time because I just had so much fun with it.
It's unbelievable. I can't. The whole time I was just sitting there watching it, like I can't believe this movie got made. Looks as good as it does, is executed as perfectly as it is very clearly their vision, and I cannot wait for my action figures from Plastic Meatball to arrive because that's a pre-order that I was more than happy to put in and wait on. Excellent call out. Cadavers, is there anything that you guys had that we?
I mean, I got a whole list. We need to talk about Willy's Wonderland.
Yes.
One of the most, other than Psycho Goreman, one of the most fun movies to come out in this last year. Absolutely batshit bonkers. What the fuck? But it was perfect.
Well, fun is the key word, though. Yes. It never gets too oppressive. It never gets so weird that you're like, all right, I get it. You're fucking artsy, whatever. Like it really is just a fun thrill ride, wacky movie.
Yes.
And it lets Nicolas Cage totally be Nicolas Cage, but it's not a distraction because they realize the best way to utilize Nicolas Cage is don't let him talk.
Yeah.
I know everybody
went on and like I watched Mandy based off of all of you guys' recommendation, and it was a really good movie. However, I liked Willy's Wonderland so much more, and I really do think it's because you were honed in on what is Nicolas Cage doing versus what bad acting sounds are coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
It's just so many times in that movie. First of all, I'm laughing through the whole thing because it was absolutely insane.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, but you're saying like
much like Christian has this song or Noel has the song from Psycho Gorman in his head. I have "It's Your Birthday."
Yeah. I find myself singing that a lot. I cannot talk about like Willy's Wonderland enough. We watched it like 3 times in a week. It just couldn't get enough of it. When he's like having that weird sexual moment with the pinball machine.
Yes. And all they did was aim a camera at him and go, all right, Nick,
go for it.
You play pinball the way Nicolas Cage plays pinball. And he was like, I got this.
Yeah.
And he's like fucking the pinball
off
machine.
Of him, and they just ran the camera. And it was wonderful.
His energy drinks.
What the
heck was that?
Who knows?
Like we have to have these camera shots. Like you're thinking this is such an integral part.
Is this like
what?
Is this like Juiced, where if he doesn't drink the energy drink every 30? Not Juiced. What's the movie with Jason Statham where he has to?
Crank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this like Crank, where he has to have the energy drink every hour or else he's going to fucking explode or something? I don't know. We never find out.
And the fact that it doesn't pay off makes it even better.
Yes.
Right.
There's this beautiful moment for me about halfway through the movie where I just realized, they're not going to give me any of the shit that I want.
No.
And I just let it all go.
And then,
you're not gonna find out.
You're like, it's fine.
You're not gonna find out.
I don't need
any of his backstory
because none of that information.
Any of my questions answered, and I'm just going along for
all you got to know is that he's there to clean the pizza parlor and kill demonic animatronic creatures.
And also, what the fuck did he use to clean that bathroom? Because I need that
shit was hilarious.
I need that because
Nicolas Cage, elbow grease and spit.
The man had
a
cocaine rag and was like
and energy drink.
Painted.
I know that Five Nights at Freddy's movie has been in like production limbo for years and years.
But
and years.
What's the point now?
After this movie came out, drop it. You don't.
Well, you know what though? Okay, so I'll say this before we take another quick break in just a moment here, because we're going for a marathon episode. There is a new Five Nights at Freddy's game out. Phantom Jr. has been playing, and I thought the same thing initially. I was like, well, Willy's Wonderland happened, so who gives a shit about Five Nights at Freddy? But watching him play this new Five Nights at Freddy's game, I was like, oh, I'd really be up for a movie of this. This is fucking cool.
No.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Yeah.
It's at this point,
different.
Don't we know that like so much of his money goes to these crazy religious groups that we're like, Five Nights, what? Come on.
Whose money goes to what?
The guy that created Five Nights at Freddy's.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh my God. No, he's like super wackadoo.
Oh.
God.
Well, but it's everybody is. What are you gonna? Yeah, you can't. If in order to avoid supporting some evil person, you'd have to go live nude in the woods. And that's it.
I'm looking.
Wait,
I was going to say that's right up Arian's alley
for me. So.
Yeah, Arian's going to be nude woods boy, and that's fine. All right.
She said.
Okay, so did anybody watch Vacation Friends?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was funny as
fucking
shit.
Hilarious.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
It got no hype, I feel like. Came out of nowhere.
I got Hulu just for that movie.
It's John Cena, Meredith Hagner, Lil Rel Howery, and Yvonne Orji. It's quite a handle there. But it's awesome. It's a raunchy R-rated comedy that works really well. Like if you've got a couple hours, just sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a romantic comedy about drugs and group sex.
Yes.
It's really showing that like John Cena is calling his comedy.
John Cena's funny as
really?
fuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Surprisingly, very good.
I kind of thought Suicide Squad was the one-off.
No, have you seen what's the one he did with Amy Schumer?
Trainwreck.
Trainwreck.
Yeah, he steals the show in Trainwreck.
He's the best part of Trainwreck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's funny as shit.
I didn't see the Cock Blockers movie.
I watched that. That was hilarious.
It was
funny. It just was, and I didn't want to like it because it seemed like, to me, like when I saw the ad for that, I was like, this is going to feel like if I was 45 when American Pie came out, and I was laughing at that. But it was funny as shit. It just was. Space Jam 2, one of the worst fucking pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life.
If you guys watched the South Park All Grown Up COVID specials,
yes.
On
Space where they're
Jam
treating
2
Space Jam 2 as
right humanity, and they're not wrong.
But Space Jam 2 led to the best trend of stealing heads off of action figures in the history of action figures.
I cannot, as funny as that was, I cannot support that. It's theft, it's stealing, it's a TikTok trend, which makes it evil automatically.
But what company was dumb enough to put a figure with a detachable head exposed in a package like that?
Have to worry about that. People shouldn't be shitbag enough to steal a bunch of LeBron James heads.
Have you met people?
I have.
How can you say that?
Some of us still have a little more hope for humanity than you do.
Like,
what's funny
after the past 5 years? Really?
I know.
Really?
I know. I'm the dumb here.
You should
I'm with you, Dave. Dave, I'm with you.
Turning LeBron James into the Goombas from the Super Mario Brothers movie was a sight to behold. So
I just hope we get a foreign parody of Face Jam 2, because there were a lot of unanswered questions in the first Face Jam.
Well, I feel like if we can get Face Jam meets Flesh Gordon, we'll be in pretty good shape as a society.
And Pulp Friction.
And back to
Pulp Friction.
And back to your point, Noel, that was my favorite part of the LeBron thefts, is when people would actually go the extra mile and draw a little smiley face on the peg. Coming to America 2, I didn't finish watching it.
I thought it came out last year for some reason.
It might have. I don't know. I just threw it on the list. I
never got around to it.
I watched half an hour of it. And
the first movie is so special to me that it was like the new Bill and Ted movie when it came out. I just could not.
Oh, see, I love that. I thought that was great.
No, I wound up finally watching it and loving it, but I was afraid to watch it. I was like, is it going to disappoint me 20 years later?
And I can't imagine this is possible, but if there's anybody out there that's more intellectual than those of us that are on this show right now, I really need somebody to come up with a word for the feeling you experience when you're watching a movie, and as it goes on, your feeling of, oh no, this is a piece of shit, just keeps getting worse.
That would be what we experienced where Halloween Kills.
I'm sure there's a German word for it. I'll look.
Right. There's got to be something like Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
you mean
sure.
Schadenfreude?
I don't know how you pronounce it, because whoever fucking says that outside of Germany.
I'm pretty sure it's called
learning German.
It's called the Phantom Menace experience.
Well, no, because most people, and they'll lie to your face about this now, most people enjoyed the Phantom Menace, and only when they looked back on it realized it was a piece of shit.
Lies.
Because
I fell asleep during the Phantom Menace.
Most people, nobody I knew when that movie came out was like, that was terrible. And nobody liked Jar Jar Binks. But there's a certain feeling. I experienced it during Halloween Kills. I experienced it during the Eternals, where half an hour or so into the movie, you're like, oh, fuck, this isn't very good, is it? And then as the movie keeps going, because it's very few. I'm going to say no movie. Very few movies are perfect. There's like RoboCop and Predator. Those are perfect movies, but like
Roadhouse.
Most movies have flaws, but we overlook the flaws because we love the awesomeness. But once your brain realizes that the flaws are outweighing the awesomeness, then you start to look for flaws, and every movie has them to offer once you've hit that threshold of, oh no, this isn't very good.
If you start hitting that in the first 30 minutes, it's a phenomenally bad movie, because most of the time a movie with its flashing lights and fun noises,
it distracts you.
It can get you to the end, and then you have to kind of think about it to realize that it sucked dick. But like, and I won't go too much into Halloween Kills because we did an entire episode on it. But like, we had that exact conversation while watching it. Ryan looked at me and he was like, "This is weird, right?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yes.
And then about 10 minutes later, it was like, "Oh no, this is bad."
It's
bad.
There's a literary device. I think it's called rising tension, right? And this is like rising shititude.
Yes.
Like as the movie continues, your feeling of loathing for it just grows with each passing minute.
I'll find you the German word for that as well.
There's got to be. There's got to be.
Amongst my friends down here, we call that ghost shipping. Because that opening scene in Ghost Ship, we all went and saw it in the theater, was so amazing. We were also really drunk. Some of them might have been really high.
I like Ghost Ship. I'm not ashamed to say.
As the movie went on, we were all contemplating, do we leave? Like, we were literally having the conversation. Because I've never walked out on a movie before. This is horrible. Do we just go leave and drink some more?
That movie never reaches the heights of the opening scene, but I like that movie. I liked all of those Ghost House movies. I dug all of those to one degree or another.
There's some of them that are good, but Ghost Ship was
I
beating our head against the back going.
I even liked Waxworks or Wax Museum or whatever, with the one with Paris Hilton.
House of Wax.
House of Wax.
I love that movie.
I was going to say, don't talk
a good movie.
Don't talk bad
like
about Waxwork. Don't confuse Waxwork with
Waxwork is phenomenal. That's a whole other thing. All right, we got to keep going. Did you guys all watch Cruella?
I can't believe that's on your list.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
I didn't like it much, but I watched it.
Whoa!
Most of the Disney live action movies have been horrible. That is totally a case of style over substance.
And that was fine with me. I thought it was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You're breaking my heart tonight.
I'm sorry. I thought it was great. I really loved it.
Can we stop sympathizing villains? When do we get just bad guys who are bad guys? We don't have to justify what terrible thing. In Batman Returns, the Penguin is born a mutant. His parents throw him in the garbage. He's a bad guy. We don't need, I'm a poor, misunderstood soul with
But that's exactly what the Penguin story is.
On me.
Yeah,
that's literally his exact story.
Penguin.
No.
As opposed to the traditional Penguin story of he's just a gangster dickbag. I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's going to be different for everybody. But for me, Cruella works.
At least
of like too much backstory is bullshit.
It depends on what it is.
At least Cruella did not reach the heights of terribleness that Maleficent did, teaching us that leather pants and stiletto heels existed in fairy tale land.
I didn't make it through the first Maleficent. I watched like 20 minutes or so of that, and I was like, I can't do this.
I never watched any of that.
I've never watched any of that.
Jungle Cruise.
I loved it.
Big fun.
Yeah.
Just big dumb fun.
I liked it as much as the first Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a big dumb fun movie. To put the Rock in the jungle and you've got a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
put him in khaki.
Yeah. Seems to happen a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Also, it's one of my favorite rides, and like all the little dumb jokes and shit were so fun. Like, see all that shit. I loved it.
He can pull off. A lot of people might say, "Oh, the Rock's playing the Rock," but he pulls off varying levels of like humor and dashing and savoir-faire. Like he's a little bit different in everything.
That's like complaining that Arnold Schwarzenegger is playing Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
You just accept that that's what you're watching.
I will put The Rock.
Charismatic.
I will put The Rock in the same category that we did Only Murders in the Building. The Rock doesn't care to look silly or stupid when he's in a movie. He will go to whatever length the scene needs to do what he needs to do. And to me, that makes him more than just an action movie star in a comedy.
And speaking of The Rock,
he does put his ego to the side quite a bit.
Absolutely.
If you haven't watched the Young Rock Christmas special yet, do yourself a favor and watch that. It's great.
Going back to the beginning of the podcast, that's a show that I wish I could have just all binged at once because I lost interest after like the first 6 episodes.
And that's one that we somehow forgot about and didn't watch it until they were all available. And it was better.
Now, so now I'm going to go back and binge them all.
It was better as we can watch several at once. So that was one that definitely worked that way. Here's one that might cause a bit of a divide. Malignant.
I know you haven't seen it yet. I loved it.
Yeah, I liked it.
The only thing I can say is I felt that the tone was weird. And I think that fucked up the experience for some people because the tone of the movie felt like a serious horror movie. But then what happens in it is completely bonkers insane. To me, it was like Basket Case. Like it was a very Basket Case like movie. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely insane. It's way over the top. The violence is amazing. I loved it.
I think if it came out in the 80s, it would be looked at as a classic.
Yeah.
Okay, now I really want to see it.
I think if it came out in the 80s, though, it wouldn't have taken itself so seriously for the first hour. And that, Nicole, you nailed it. That's my problem with it, is you can't present... what was the movie where the fucking girl's head gets popped off by the telephone pole?
Hereditary.
Oh, Hereditary.
You can't present an hour of movie that's as serious as Hereditary and then go fucking Dead Alive.
True.
It doesn't work for me.
Fair enough.
And I will go back and give it another chance, knowing that it does go bonkers.
You're not wrong.
But that was my... I loved the concept. Once I figured out what was going on, I was like, this would be so great if they were having any fun with it at all. But they're not. They're treating it like some serious fucking art house horror flick. And it's not. It should be goofy as fuck.
Yeah, the tone was...
It was all over the place.
It was confused.
The first scene was like goofy, and then it got real serious, and then it got fucking goofy again. It was all over the place. I did have fun watching it, though, but I also went into a really low expectations.
I went into it with super high expectations.
Yeah, I had heard.
So that was a difference.
I kind of went in, was just like, feed this to me and let me see what it is.
And I don't think it was poor. Like it was done well. It just, like I said, that tone, the inconsistency of the tone was my
From the point
block.
Where she
You're
goes
right.
To the jail, you're like, oh my god, it's just it's like a free for all. It's
well, and that's when it hits, and you're like, holy shit, this movie could have been so much fun if they weren't determined to be dreary and serious for the first hour.
I will give you that the tone is very confused, especially for about that, the first 10 minutes aside, the first hour of the movie. But if you can kind of ignore that or get past it, it's really awesome.
It should have been the same tone as like Raising Cain or Darkman or like that kind of thing where within its world it is taking itself seriously, but as a viewer you see how loony it is.
Yeah.
If Sam Raimi had made that movie, it would have been fucking one of my favorite movies of the year.
If it was like Drag Me to Hell, like it would have been.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the tone that it needed. So that was the mistake it made, but I can get past it because.
And that's awesome. And at some point, I'll give it another chance. Because I love the concept.
Yeah.
Speaking of good horror, we forgot to mention Candyman.
No, it's on the list.
Oh, okay.
It was fucking awesome.
Oh my god!
Slow burn, but beautiful, artsy. I mean, what we've come to expect from Jordan Peele's productions. He was just a producer on this, but I thought it was phenomenal.
The acting in it is it's absolutely awesome. It's wonderfully gory. It's scary, I think, as fuck.
It's freaky. The way where it goes, you just do not see coming.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And anybody that complained about it doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like
I'm on board with that.
Some of the complaints I read about it, like you didn't get the first movie. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was blown away. I thought it was so fantastic. The only part I can't watch is the part where with the bees and the face holes, and that just makes me. But it's so goddamn
it turns you into Jar Jar Binks.
Yes.
No, it's Boss Nass.
All right, so we've covered enough of what's left on the list that I made. We got to wrap this thing up. So I want to go around to everybody. We're going to start on the left of my screen here with Beth. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't covered? Anything you wanted to point out from 2021?
Are we doing a bad thing now, or are we just going to keep doing good things?
I think we've talked about a lot of bad things, but I mean, if you're willing to point out a bad thing, go for it.
Well, it's only
free for all.
It's only that it was the expectations for me were high with Cowboy Bebop.
Oh no, I know,
I'm such
right?
a huge fan of the anime. I'm such a big fan, and I really wanted it to work. It wasn't that I was going in with a critical eye. I wanted it to succeed.
Yeah.
John Cho broke his fucking leg for this show.
Did you even get through the whole thing?
I did.
I didn't. I couldn't do it. I
figured out what the problem was. It's that Jet was written well. Spike written well. Faye badly written.
Julia,
badly written. You've got 24 episodes in a movie to draw from, and you can't write the fucking characters.
I think this was another tonal problem too, though. It was this beautiful Technicolor landscape, and sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was like it just didn't have. If you had an Edgar Wright or a Sam Raimi or somebody with a really strong creative vision that would stick to it rather than just trying to mimic a lot of the big scenes from the anime, it just didn't work. And I hated it that it didn't, because I'm not a huge anime fan, but I love Cowboy Bebop.
That's my favorite anime.
And I went in ready for it to be something completely different, but to enjoy whatever it presented, as long as it kept the spirit of it. And it just wasn't, it was just kind of dull, honestly. It didn't have the magic.
The only thing I got right was the music.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. And I hated it because I John Cho. Yeah, I love John Cho. It didn't work. It sadly didn't work. Anybody else watch this, care about it at all?
He started it. I liked what I'd seen, but I also haven't seen the anime, so I don't know.
I'm not a fan, so I don't know.
I enjoyed the shit out of the anime, which is not something that I usually say about anime. However, I was always skeptical of it translating in a live action, so I've yet to watch it. I'm sure I will one day.
I think with the resources that they had, they could have very successfully done this, because visually it's all there, but the spirit just isn't there. So like budget wise, execution wise, they had the tools. They just didn't have the talent.
It looks right. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Let's see. Christian. Any 2021 things, good or bad? Just your last call out.
Yeah, the only thing we didn't really touch on that sticks out to me is the Activision Blizzard stuff. That was going on. Yeah. Because listen, I'm not a World of Warcraft guy, but I am an Overwatch guy. Next to Resident Evil, that is my absolute most favorite game series ever.
Well, I'm a huge Diablo fan too, so it's hugely disappointing.
And I know people here in Orlando, I know quite a number of people who have worked for EA. And so there are stories, not so much like the harassment and that sort of stuff, but the being overworked, having your ideas stolen and not getting credit. There's so much of that you hear these stories of it now that it finally has broken through on such a big scale to where it's affecting the releases of games and updating of games. And how is the gaming industry landscape going to change? To me, that's just been a very interesting thing to watch. And I'm curious to see how it all plays out, because it's so corporate, where you have people, like Jeff Kaplan, that was so beloved by the Overwatch community, that left, and everybody was scratching their heads. And then the more that comes out, you're going, oh, well, because he saw what was going on and was like, yep, I can't change things. I got to bail, no matter how much I love this game. And so that's I'm sorry to get heavy, but just because of the changing workscape that happened during the pandemic, and now coming out of it, where people are like, yeah, I don't have to put up with this anymore. But by the way, us not putting up with it anymore means that some of these things that you guys love so dear may not ever get their updates. It may not come back, or you're just going to have to wait a long time because we're more important than that. So it's just kind of, for me, interesting to watch.
I don't know anything about any of that, but if any of the rest of you have thoughts, please go ahead.
Well, the harassment thing was not a surprise, because
no,
the game industry is such a boys' club that hearing harassment stories was, oh, of course it is. Of course they're getting harassed, but it's so much worse than that.
Yeah. Right. And I do give them credit, like, to go in and change the names of characters that were named after some of these people that did crappy things. They still haven't totally done right, but
it's going to be interesting.
Gross.
What happens in the future?
Well, I would. The CEO of Activision Blizzard should be thrown into the sea for a lot of other reasons, but this should be the cherry on top. But the problem is that as long as one, like, if he gets fired, he's going to get like $50 million or something obscene in a golden parachute deal. Two, like, as long as they're still making money, the board of directors doesn't care.
100%. It's the Bob Chapek thing.
Yeah, like, it comes down to money, and like once someone in a position to say so decides that like keeping him on isn't worth it, then they'll let him go, and that sucks. But that's the system that we currently labor under. So
yeah.
Without getting too commie about it, I know this isn't the podcast for that, Dave.
I would definitely be interested in seeing the world where communists ran video games, and every video game is fill bucket until full.
That's the job.
That sounds really fun to me.
That's the job simulator I was talking about earlier. It's great fun. You're out in the fields picking wheat.
Pick wheat until bucket full.
And then you wait.
You will fill buckets.
Then you wait 4 hours in line to buy toilet paper.
Yeah,
sounds great.
Oh wait, that was the beginning of the pandemic.
All right, Nicole, have you got anything 2021 wise you wanted to bring up?
I think the only movie that I had that we didn't touch on was one called Werewolves Within.
I still haven't watched that, and I feel like I need to.
Think Clue meets werewolves.
There is no reason why that movie should be as fun as it is.
It is.
I love that game, and to think that game could be translated into a movie. I went in with no expectations, and
I didn't really know what to expect either. I didn't really see or read a lot about it, so I didn't really know it was going to be kind of like a fun.
I know nothing about it. I don't know that I would have known it was even like because it's basically a comedy, right?
Yeah, but it's smart. And like I said, it has very Clue vibes to it.
You threw Clue into the mix, so now expectations are pretty high. It's
a whodunit, a funny whodunit with werewolves. So it's like who's the werewolf done it,
right?
But it's absolutely. I wish it had gotten more attention. It's really, really fantastic, and you guys will all really enjoy it. It was, it's kind of like the concept. It should have just sort of been like, oh, that was fine. But for some reason it works so well that I really wanted to put it on my like favorite of 2021. It's absolutely awesome. So you should watch it. Other than that, I just had some books and no one wants to talk about books.
Books? Ugh, fucking nerd.
I was elected to lead, not to read.
Ryan, what about you? Any 2021 stuff we missed?
No, not really. Like, we've honestly covered pretty much all the shit that I wanted to talk about. I mean,
Oz?
Some good shit came out this year.
You know what? We didn't really talk about the new Ghostbusters.
No, we really didn't. And it was.
I don't know if we have time now because we could do it. Well, it was absolutely perfect for me.
I wish we could have done a review episode. It just didn't fit into the schedule, but it was like a lot of things now. It was a retread, but it was done so well and sets up the possibility of a return to that world that we love. And that's, to me, that's kind of the best we can hope for a lot of things now, is that we can get something that Hollywood sees value in once again, which is the thing that I enjoyed the 2016 Ghostbusters for what it was, but it did not set the world on fire. It didn't reestablish a universe that we loved already. It was too different. And we don't like that.
Right.
So this to me,
I don't know. It was, for me, it was perfect. It, like you said, it kind of set up, what possibly could come next. And just, I mean, the way they handled the characters and the casting was brilliant. It was just, to me, it was fantastic.
Yeah, the young cast was fantastic. They did a really good job with the old cast, except for one part towards the end that I'm still a little baffled about. But there were a couple of scenes that were, once again, I wish I had some napkins here to sort of surreptitiously dry my eyes with nobody looking. It was great, and I'm very excited about seeing it again and getting the physical media and taking in all the special features and stuff, because I think there are probably a lot of really great stories involved in the making.
Yeah,
of this
I always
movie.
thought the one time I'd love to see it again too. So
yeah. Arian, did you enjoy anything in 2021?
Actually, and the thing is like I just watched the last episode of the first season yesterday, and I'm still trying to decide like how I feel about it, but I feel like I would be remiss in not acknowledging, if not recommending, the production of a TV adaptation of The Wheel of Time, which is bonkers to me. It's
crazy.
Someone's trying to adapt a 14-book series.
Yeah.
And like they're condensing it and scrunching it down, and there is not nearly enough braid pulling from the actress who plays Nineveh, and looking dissatisfied at everyone else. But like, there were some things I thought they did a really good job of. They didn't really stick the landing, and I questioned some of the things they cut and some of the things that they chose to keep. But I'm gonna watch the second season when it comes out. I'll give it one more before I made it like, I think 9 or 10 books in before I gave up on the book series.
I only got to like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
you stopped at the right time because like after 4 or 5, like the middle books get bad, y'all. Like bad, bloated, bad.
And I was reading these in high school, so going into the show, my only memory was like, this was some fantasy shit that I enjoyed for a while. So I didn't remember. I watched the first 2 episodes and I dug them. I haven't gotten back to it yet, so I don't know if I dug them that much, but I liked them. But I had no idea who anybody was, how accurate anything was. I don't remember that shit at all. So
it came back to me a bit more, and like I read up on Wikipedia to like.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that because I want to take the show in as it presents itself.
I feel like in a lot of ways it has a lot of promise and it could potentially be really good, but like there were just some like I don't know what they're gonna do to like get themselves out of some of the choices without spoiling anything. Some of the choices that they made in the final episode to me just seem outright dumb. And if you like you can retcon it somehow by saying, oh, that's not actually what happened, and so, you know.
But you shouldn't be having to do that after one season.
Like,
all I know, and this isn't going to surprise anybody, is when that magic lady started doing magic shit, I was like, that's awesome.
Sure. And it was awesome. And, like, there's some cool shit going on, but I just, it raised my alarms the more episodes I watched, which is not a good thing. But I'll give it one more season and we'll see what happens because it did get.
I've been debating watching it.
I've heard a lot of mixed reviews, but the fact that Brandon Sanderson is actively working on the show makes me think that it might not totally suck.
Well, and he said he understands why they did some of the things that they did, but he disagreed with some of them. But like he's still like consulting on the show. Like
I mean, he didn't walk away, so that makes me think that he wasn't disgusted with what they were doing.
I'll give it another like I said, I'll give it season 2. I'm not like dying for another Game of Thrones replacement. Plus, like I'm a huge Lord of the Rings and J.R.R. Tolkien nerd, and I'm way more excited about the like Lord of the Rings series that's going to be coming out sometime in the next couple of years. Beth is nodding enthusiastically for those of us who are listening and not watching. So there you go.
Noel, what from 2021 has you excited? Has left you happy and fulfilled?
We got our first posthumous studio album by the late great Prince Rogers Nelson. Welcome to America. I haven't listened to it a whole bunch, but I really enjoyed it. It's very much on kind of the path he was going in some of his later releases before his death. So I was happy to hear new Prince material that wasn't just like demo stuff or live stuff.
Yeah. And there should be plenty of that to come.
Yeah.
We barely touched on music, but I got to tell you, I think it's because for me personally, anyway, it's because I'm old and I don't listen to that much new music.
I don't listen to that much music, period. Honestly, most of what I'm listening to is like podcasts and stuff like that. But occasionally I'll check something out that strikes me my fancy. And yes, I definitely had to give the new Prince album a spin.
I haven't even listened to the new Mastodon album yet, but it's because the pre-order for it was so fucking annoying that I said, fuck you guys, I don't need to hear your stupid album.
Terry was mixed feelings on it until he saw the show, and then he said it was amazing.
Well, and they're the Star Trek of bands in that every other album I fucking love, and then the ones in between, I'm kind of like, it's good. All right, guys. Well, I think we have covered a ton of stuff from 2021. I don't know that we've covered everything, but good Lord, how much of us does anybody really want to hear? Thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk about this year that we've all survived. I wanted to hit on things we're looking forward to in 2022, but I think that may well be another episode that we're recording in a couple of weeks here. So to sign off, what's that?
Pre-orders.
Yes, put in your pre-order now for the Needless Things 2022 episode. Before we go, of course, we got to talk about where you can find us and what we're going to be doing. Christian, where can we find your wonderful action figure photography?
You can find me on Instagram and on Flickr under the screen name Legion Cub.
Cadavers, what do you got going on over there?
Check out my new band, Neon Warlords. We're about to put out a new song in a couple weeks. That's pretty badass. We're working with Tiffany from the band Elzig, and we're doing a fucking awesome song. So check out Neon Warlords and the Casket Creatures.
And that first Neon Warlords album, that will be released on vinyl, right?
I want it to be, if I can afford it.
Yeah, I hear that's a little bit
expensive.
Of a... Yeah. That is where pre-orders can be a good thing, I think.
Yes.
So everybody be ready to pre-order Neon Warlords debut album.
Hell yeah.
Beth, what are you up to? Where can we find you online?
I am a co-host of Execute Chapter 66, where we talk about Star Wars books. We will be back from Christmas break soon with the newest Thrawn book.
Excellent. Nicole, you gave a gesture as though you had something to throw out there. Did we overlook you when we went to the cadavers?
I existed again. It's fine.
I didn't forget that you existed. You said nothing when I said cadavers. What's going on with you?
Nothing. You can find me on Instagram as usual. I just want
seriously. You gave a dismissive gesture to the camera, and that's all you got. You're not going to talk about your other podcast that is surely coming back at some point.
Had a new episode in a year, so
well, that's okay. The other episodes are still out there, right?
They are there, and they are glorious.
And there will be another one someday.
Yes, someday when we
because there are plenty of shitty movies to talk about.
Yeah.
For real? We've never done that Ginger Dead Man.
Nor will we. But if you want to show up and be a guest.
You can be a guest on Caught Dead Watching, and we can do Ginger Dead Man 3.
There you go.
I think that sounds like a great idea for me to not be involved in.
Make all my Gary Busey dreams come true.
Noel, what have you got going on?
I'm on a podcast with some other people that you may know. Here on this particular show called Audible Interlude. We talk about G.I. Joe, so check that out every month. And also you can find stuff on dorkdroppings.com. 25 years of content that's barely ever updated anymore.
But that's okay, because it's still 25 years of great stuff, much like Caught Dead Watching's archives. Arian, yeah, you don't do anything.
No, it's true. I pride myself on it.
I have a whole bunch of memes that prove otherwise.
That's true. You are.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I don't do anything useful.
You're our resident.
Making me laugh is very useful.
It's true.
To me, at least.
And Oz, you're down there whittling rotary phones or whatever.
Yeah. No, I making stuff, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook and
doing things and stuff.
I was doing things.
You'll be back as part of the Big Damn Game Show at DragonCon 2022.
That's right.
If they ever open up the guest admissions, which hasn't happened yet.
I'm sure
they will someday. You guys, thank you. This has been great. I'm really drunk. Let's go home.
Yeah, I'm pretty drunk.
Aren't we already home?
I'm too drunk for a Monday.
What a marathon episode. And boy, did we drink a lot. One thing I want to mention. a new holiday tradition, a new post-Christmas, well, not even post-Christmas, because I was doing this Christmas Eve, canceling all of the pre-orders for stuff that did not show up in time. Because the whole point was to get it as fast as possible to be there ready for Christmas. And now, I'll just wait and find it in the store. Or if by the time I find it, I don't care about it anymore, or the recipient doesn't care about it anymore, then we just don't get it. I understand that's a little weird consumery way to do things, but it is fun going through Walmart and Amazon and Big Bad Toy Store. And I'm sorry, I always feel bad when I cancel pre-orders from Big Bad, but I always have a good reason. And just canceling those pre-orders, baby. It was great. My favorite one, well, I had a couple of favorites, but one of the ones I enjoyed the most was Walmart. That WWE Masters of the Universe line was exclusive to them, but the last two waves did their usual distribution thing. I managed to find the very last wave at Walmart, and I had the second to last wave pre-ordered, and then Big Bad put both of them up for pre-order. So right now, as we speak, the second to last wave is on its way to me from Big Bad, and I just canceled the pre-order from Walmart. So that is less money going to Walmart, more money going to Big Bad, and that makes me happy. As did many things in 2021. You guys, thank you for another year of Needless Things. Once again, I forgot to cancel renewal for Podbean hosting, so you guys get another year of Needless Things. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and happy holidays. Happy New Year. Let's look forward to great stuff. I love you guys.
You have been listening to a Needless Things podcast. You can follow Needless Things on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at needlessthingspodcast.com. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.